We are here for another installment of the Toasty Time podcast, and it is a back-to-back repeat host. This is a first-time occurrence for the series, 2 times in a row. We are here to continue our discussion points for the House of Dragon HBO series. For the first episode we did was the pilot, so we're here for episodes 2 through 5. 2 through 5.
So we let a few build up this time.
A lot's built. A lot has built.
It's
a few years have passed, apparently.
About 10 maybe at this point, or 8.
I think altogether from the start of the series, like 8 years have passed.
I know 7 had passed up till episode 4. But now by episode 5, I would say
probably
maybe about 8.
Probably about 8 years.
Yeah.
A lot has developed. A lot of things have changed from where we were at the pilot of the series. I guess the major developments: Alicent is queen.
Alicent is officially queen.
She's married to King Viserys, and they are in love.
Happily. He's in love with her.
Happily. They're content in love. It feels like everybody's fine. Nobody's I
would say they were very content in love up until episode 4.
Yes.
Because episode 2 they was freshly, newlyweds, and then they had the kids.
Yeah.
And so, when did we get Balon's or Aegon's second birthday?
So that probably was episode, I want to say 3 or 4. I want to say it's 3. I think those 2 years or 3 years jump around episode 3. So,
yes. Yep. So up until about episode 3, I would say they was good. But 4 to 5, it's a little different.
Yeah. Who Aegon is Rhaenyra's little brother. That's another thing. Yes. Alicent has a child.
Yep, 2.
2 kids.
She has 2 kids by episode 5.
Yep. The king has his male heirs, and that's creating some conflict for a lot of things. As to be expected, a lot of supporters across the kingdom were a bit not warm to the idea of Rhaenyra being named the heir. There's still a lot of resistance about female leadership as a whole at this point in history. And later on, the king ends up getting born a male heir, and a lot of the kingdom operates under the idea that he's going to get named heir, and we'll have another Targaryen leading the Iron Throne, and things will keep pushing. But interestingly enough, and there's a conflict that I didn't see coming that he decided to stand on. The king doesn't unname Rhaenyra his heir.
He doesn't. He was conflicted though. He was conflicted for a while about what to do with that, because he did truly see Rhaenyra as the heir. But of course, as a king, you have to listen to your counsel. So, but ultimately, he went with his initial word, which was keeping Rhaenyra his heir. Now, of course, in true Rhaenyra fashion, she making it a little hard to be on her side. She's getting a little wild, and maybe that's due to her being a teenager and amongst other things.
Probably a lot of teenage angst and a lot of just general resistance towards the general status quo of what her position is being asked to do. She's very much a woman of today's modern age. She does not really fit the mold.
Way before her time.
Yeah. The strong leadership and the resistance and the you shut the hell up is not fitting the mold of where we're at right now. But that's Rhaenyra, and it's going to, I think, lead to some very good leadership moments later. I'm sure that strong will is going to,
I worry about her maintaining allies.
She does rub a lot of people the wrong way. She doesn't. I think that's an interesting parallel to compare to Daenerys. Daenerys very much was good at drawing people in, even though she wasn't shy about vocalizing her opinion.
She was.
Rhaenyra very much seems like she openly vocalizes she just wants to be alone. She seems to want solitude, but it's like for the road that we're heading towards, that's not going to end up favoring her very well for the position she's going to need the whole life.
Well, spoiler alert, as parents, as my mama used to say, back in the day, Rhaenyra started smelling herself after, you know, a series of some.
She had a good night. It was a good night.
She had
her.
She had a good
great,
night.
As good a night as you could ask for. As good a night as you could ask for.
You know, that tipped the scale too. I do think that has a lot to do with it. And you know what? You know when your parents say that to you when you're growing up. At that moment, I'm like, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm being the same. It's the same. It's
You're
the same
old
as it was.
and you don't remember what it's like to be my age at this point. I'm under a lot of pressure. Let me be me.
Let me be me.
I know what I'm doing.
I ain't doing nothing wrong, and this is a different time,
right.
and
things are changing.
Watching her go through that made me flashback to my experiences with that, because I'm like, yeah, it's definitely an obvious, noticeable change in her from before that night and after. So I think that's interesting.
That night. Well, I guess we'll get to that night. I guess a few other things beforehand as general other developments of the kingdom. So in addition to Alicent now being queen and being married to King Viserys, Rhaenyra's father.
Officially being named heir.
Officially named heir, Rhaenyra is the heir to the Iron Throne as it stands now. Whatever and still to the current standing, if something should happen to the king and he passes, etc., Rhaenyra will be made queen of
despite having two male
heirs,
brothers.
A male brother, a lot of options that the king has. He has openly decided to stick to his claim that his daughter is going to inherit everything. Right. And despite a lot of people disagreeing with it, I appreciate like Daemon.
Who is consistently making his bid for
I appreciate it. I appreciate Daemon for the fact that he is not letting his claim be forgotten. He is very much reminding you that he is always a viable option on the table. He may not be the best one, but he's a choice you have, and he's letting you know. And I'm here for it.
What I admire about Daemon too is that he played a long game. Like in episode 2, I believe it was around the end of episode 2, beginning of episode 3. It was solidified that okay, he's not going to get the Iron Throne. We have more than enough of King Viserys' own children to choose from, and of course for character flaws, he's not the most viable option. But he still didn't take that for a no, and even went to play the long game in the Stepstones, going to war to try to make him, put chips on his belt as a viable king.
I mean, I feel like, and that's really the best thing he could do in that regard, because that's ultimately how you remain a viable piece on the board. It's like if you decided, all right, well, now my brother, in addition to having his daughter, who he's named heir, he has some male sons now. So I'm probably out of contention. And it probably would have been a lot of other younger brothers who would have, regained to that idea. Just, went back to their wife and cranked out some kids. He had his land and
to inherit and
ride your dragon and just, go do your thing. But he has things he wants, clearly, and he's not letting go of those ambitions. And because of that, like you said, the Stepstones, which is one of the other developments we get to. So from the pilot where we left off, a conflict that they're speaking on at the start of the series that's taking place over across the Narrow Sea. Daemon gets assigned, well, not officially assigned. He kind of takes the liberty and inserts himself to go kind of take on the conflict of this uprising that's happening in a not directly associated part of the kingdom. And like you said, to build up some chips, add a little bit of, pedigree to his name, some relevancy, keep yourself in the conversation, and then, and build up some general allies. You winning battles and saving the kingdom from a threat that's looming over is not going to be anything that's going to remove you further away from the crown. It may not put you directly there, but it's not going to hurt your chances. So, like you said, he's playing the proper long game, and I think that's good for his character. I kind of prefer that to him just being like some Renly-esque character, or not Renly, some Ramsay-esque character where he'd be like just all destruction and all vindictive. Like he very much has some intelligence about him. He just seems like he gets distracted by some of his vices. And I guess his vices are probably going to be the thing that ends up tripping him up later. But for the time being, he's juggling stuff okay, I guess. He was brazen enough to get away with telling the king to his face that he had a very fun night out with his niece.
Which is the king's daughter, Rhaenyra. And yeah, very, very boldly and very bravely. So that's the thing. Like, that's why I be on the fence about Damon, because he do some things that make very honorable, very admirable, very great leadership qualities. But then he go do some fuck nigga shit.
And it's big energy fuck nigga shit. It's about as big. I guess we can transition into fuck nigga Damon to get on to him and his development. So after Damon,
before we go there though, I'm wondering, since you brought up, I haven't thought about the Stepstones in a while. There's so many other developments.
A lot of stuff.
But it does not seem to me like whatever happened in the Stepstones brought Damon and Lord Corliss closer. I mean, they don't seem distant, but I would have thought that maybe they storylines would cross over more as the episodes progress. But it's like after they won in the Stepstones, that was pretty much it. You didn't really hear.
You know what I think it was, and why I think that is specifically? I think that, or at least as far as how I understand it, the original, series of events that led to the partnership with Lord Corliss and Damon is basically both of them feeling passed over and by the king for one reason or another. Damon wants the throne, presumably. He still doesn't. It's like he makes it in versions like he wants it, and like that's what he cares about. But there's other points where it seems like he just kind of wants to be causing shit. So it feels like it's flip flops. But for the sake of conversation, they both felt passed over by the king and decided they were going to join forces for the sake of adding some more cachet to both of their names.
And then back off to their respective corners they go, so it seems?
No, but the reason why I think for that is because I think after the Stepstones victory, and that was what it was, after Rhaenyra pretty much pissed away the marriage tour and they didn't have any other viable options but for her marrying his son, Corliss' son, I think at that point he just felt like it made more sense to align back with the crown. Because all he really wants to do is be as close to the Iron Throne as possible. And the Damon thing was always more about rebellion and us getting passed over. And maybe if we can kick up enough smoke over here, we can gradually start to get some traction. But I think after they won there wasn't any secondary conflict. Like, there wasn't a war going on for them to really get into some shit to be like, oh, okay, I'm supporting Damon. He really out here fighting for the country. And that's the type of male Targaryen leadership we need to have, and not this young girl running around, yada, yada. It was really just one fight, and that was it. So after that, there wasn't really much to keep things going. And I think once Corliss felt the vibe and saw that the king was going to need him and need his fleet and need his son, he was just like, well, if I can slide back in. I
totally understand why he accepted. Yeah. So we kind of jumping up a little bit.
Just for the reason for that. Like, I think that's why that plot point kind of just dropped off.
Yeah, that made
he had a better prospect.
That made perfect sense. And it was best that the king moved faster rather than slow, because Damon, who we was talking about, is always making his advances.
Oh yeah. It's best to secure things as quickly as you can. Damon ain't the type of character you need to have waiting in the wings, planning things.
Yeah.
Bourgeois.
So I think we was going from the Stepstones into we didn't even talk about the hand of the king and the
so our man Otto Hightower. Now, I'm gonna say this because again, we have not regained since the pilot episode, and we're now episode 5. At the start of the series, I had a lot of good vibes that I got from Otto Hightower. Still do, for the sake of argument. I like his character. I like his reasoning behind how he moves with things. I appreciate the fact that when we get to that point, how the perception is that he was self-serving himself and his family. I definitely can see that. But as a whole, I think Otto was a good hand.
I do think Otto was a good hand also.
I think he just overplayed himself a little bit, and maybe that just came from serving 3 kings and eventually just wanting to get yourself a little bit closer to the position.
I do, but with that being said, by him having served 3 kings, I would think he might have a little more finesse about himself, and maybe a little more know-how on how to finesse the situation, especially since the king seems so adamant about Rhaenyra being the heir. It was a great example of how he could have just played the long game. I mean,
he tried to. I mean, I feel like
he didn't play long enough.
He didn't play long.
A couple years.
He did, but a lot of that was
sat
victim
on
of
that
circumstance.
information about that wild night a little longer.
Oh yeah, he definitely could have. He definitely could
it
have.
out at a different time, and it would have did.
I felt like it was just one of those opportunist things where the moving pieces around it, where it's like it might just serve me best to play the card now, because there's already a lot of rumblings of people worrying about you naming her heir, and if her virtue comes into question and that hits the streets, we're gonna start seeing prospects pulling back because don't nobody, even if she's a Targaryen, want to taint it princess. Like that meant more than most things at that point in time. Like even the king says it, like when he's going off on her about it. Like it doesn't matter what's true, it matters about perception. Like it doesn't matter what you did or didn't do. The kingdom thinks this. Your name is all that matters at this point in time. So I think it's just, but all of that to say, to go back to Otto, I liked Otto Hightower before we get into what Otto Hightower gets up to. I liked his character, and I thought he was on the path to do some good things.
I agree.
Now, what we get is so
he got a little overzealous.
Yes.
And like you say, overplayed his part too soon.
Yeah. So we said reference at the beginning that Alicent is queen now, and the context for that and how that happens is Otto basically starts to gradually start sending Alicent to visit the king in various instances after the original queen passes, to still his grief and just give him a shoulder to cry on. Now, hearing that, obviously, you would automatically assume why is the Hand sending his 16-year-old daughter to go comfort the 40-something-year-old king after his wife passed. And that point is when we start to get to the questioning of who Otto Hightower is at that point. Up until that point, to me, he was a nice dad. He was a good hand. He seemed to just want the best for everybody. But when I saw that, I got my mind checked like, oh yeah, I'm watching Game of Thrones and everybody's capable of everything.
I mean, even with that though, and I totally agree. Up until that point, I'm like, okay, he's making, even with him sending Alicent, it's like at that time, as we saw, because they tried to pass Lady Lena off to the king at first.
Yes.
Which she was like 10 maybe. So, but they were still willing to do it. So, okay, cool. Alicent comforting him or whatever the case, especially with his illness, which was still unknown. That's fine. I think the overzealousness came with the consistent pushing of the Aegon being the heir.
Yeah. Which, I guess that's the transition. So after Otto basically propositions Alicent several times to put her in position to get in the king's favor, there's a blank period where it seems like the king is going to come out and make the announcement that he's planning to announce his engagement to Corlys's daughter. And in actuality, he surprises everybody and announces he's going to be marrying Alicent. And the room kind of all hits the floor, except for Otto, who got this very satisfied smirk on when they cut to him. When I saw that smirk, I was like, oh, man, I really wasn't watching this guy the way I should have. So after that, we cut forward, and that's when our first time skip happens. And we jump ahead about 3 years or so. And we get Alicent.
Also, Rhaenyra and Alicent. Well, obviously, Rhaenyra felt some type of way.
Yeah. This very much estranged their relationship for various reasons.
Because she had no idea about her.
Yeah. Any of this was never anything that was made clear to Rhaenyra, and I think that's probably the first thing that sours their relationship, and the series of things that sour their relationship to come after it. So, all of that happens. Alicent bears the king a son. All is right with the kingdom, presumably. Everybody's like, we have a male, we should be fine. But the king's not, as we stated, backing off of that position, that my daughter is going to be queen, and you all are going to be fine with that, because that's what I've decided. So
I believe that's episode 3 where it comes, where it's the Aegon's second birthday, second name. Oh, what with the behind?
Yeah, just keep going. I just
I'm a hood baby. It ain't nothing like a good hot pickle in the middle of in a flaming hot in the middle. That's what you was trying to figure out what I was doing with
No,
the flavor
no, it wasn't that. I noticed you doing that for a minute, but I just like I kind of guess I didn't register it because I looked down and I'm like, why is there a red spot in the middle of this pickle? I'm like, I wonder if they got a flavor in it. I'm like, oh, right.
The flavor. You know what I was also thinking? This is totally off topic. I was putting it in there thinking like, is it kind of like a woman's coochie? Like, I was trying different size Flamin' Hots out just to see how that grip was gonna be after. Okay, but anyway,
is the grip of a pickle any good internally? I would assume
I wouldn't
so.
know. I mean, yeah,
I would.
actually,
I mean, it's compact. There's nothing to be
snapping
loose.
back. Yeah,
Fair enough.
it was kind of snapping back a little bit.
All right, there you go. Now you know, world. The pickle snap back.
Pickle. The pickle is almost like the one's vagina.
Yes.
Yeah, so one of the pickles snap back.
There you go. It's a fancy fact for you.
Yeah, and try a hot pickle out the pouch. Stick you a little Flamin' Hot in the middle. Baby. The Hood Queen dream.
We are not sponsored by Flamin' Hots or by pickles.
Please run.
Yeah, if you'd like to, we'll take that.
Check.
We'll happily take that check for it. You're right here. Hold on, pickle. Wait, before we get back to the podcast.
We want to present to you.
Right. Pay some quick bills, guys.
Well, okay, we were talking about Aegon's second name day.
Yes. So
I think that's what, the third?
Third or fourth episode we're transitioning. We basically pop back in and we drop right back in, and Aegon, which is Rhaenyra's little brother's name,
it's
his
second
birthday. And we're
which
at the
queen was also pregnant at the time.
Yes, and she's with the next son. So at this point, the king now is working on his third child. We got 2 male heirs, one in the oven and one who's already out. And they're still not presumed. She's the named heir currently.
Mm-hmm.
So
they're in this episode. They do in around the birthday name day. They do show that's where the king has some conflict.
Yeah.
But ultimately,
there are a lot of people specifically at the party just approaching the king, asking him, congratulating him on the child, and the general consensus that a lot of the country has is they're assuming that at some point soon, now that he has a boy and a second boy presumably coming, he's going to announce to the kingdom, all right, everybody, now here's Aegon, first of his name, the heir of the Iron Throne. And that hasn't happened.
No.
So there's a lot of people that are, sliding over by the king and making little comments and just trying to...
also in this episode around this time too, they're trying to get Rhaenyra to accept somebody's marriage proposal. Anybody.
Yes. So part of the reason with that is with the king deciding to name Rhaenyra heir, part of what that commitment locks her into is she has to get married. The fact that she is a female, he has to know for certain that his family line is going to be continued. He has to know that it's going to stay within the kingdom. And because of that, he needs her to get married. That's her part in this that she can't wiggle out of. Now, Rhaenyra being Rhaenyra, obviously, is resisting that as much as she possibly can. And at every possible front, as you can imagine.
Because as we know, she just wanted to be riding on her little dragon
by herself,
doing whatever
she does like doing. She just likes to, be on her solo vibes, and I can't be mad at her for it. But
if you want to be heir, and of course, the fact that she's even an heir is already monumental and revolutionary enough at that time.
Yeah.
And then you also dragging your feet on getting married, but she damn near old maid at this point in time. Cause she's like 17 years old.
Yeah.
They was very much married by 14.
We come back in at 17. Most of our
17.
original courtships we get in the early Game of Thrones series. That was all 14,
13, very young.
Much locked in. Which made sense. So, they wanted them to be having kids by 16, 17. And by the time you're in your early 20s.
Because she ain't even got not a marriage or a kid.
Yeah. Which is not her interest. But unfortunately, like you said, the position she's playing doesn't really suit that interest. So she's going to have to let that go. So we get a little bit of a tour of her going out and looking at some potential suitors on who she can potentially choose from. And she basically declines everybody.
Yeah.
Which you would expect.
And they were giving her daddy some good, nice old.
Oh yeah,
offering him the world.
He was getting golden spears and plates of delicious foods and jugs of wine. They were trying their best to swoo this man. And
somebody even killed somebody over it.
Oh, somebody definitely died. Somebody. So we'll transition that just for a pause because that scene is one of my favorite of this episode. So in the midst of Rhaenyra's marriage tour, she is listening to her potential suitors coming up to make their bids. And this young man, this sweet young boy, I believe his name is from House Blackwell. It might not be that. I should have got it.
I think it was because it was a name I recognized from Game of Thrones.
It was Blackwell or Black something. But
yeah,
this very scrawny look, he looked like Brandon Stark at like age 11. Like he was this little bowl cut boy, pasty with no muscle tone to him, but he had heart, and goddamn it, he put it on the line.
He did.
So he's sitting there making his petition to Rhaenyra about, I'm gonna protect you. You'll always be well taken care of. And it's this guy in the audience goading him, just making little snide comments.
Because he's like 10 or something.
Dude's like 10. The dude in the audience looks like he's like 18. Like
18 and Rhaenyra's 17.
Yeah, just talking shit. Yeah, what does she need your protection for? She's got dragons, yada yada. Just unnecessary. Good point, but then none of y'all need to be here because
that's true.
That doesn't like. It's the point, but we can't help the fact that she has dragons. Y'all still got to make y'all bids. Shut up and let him talk.
I wonder why they wasn't trying to get her to marry Laenor then.
I think it was, honestly, I first and foremost don't think, well, first it was her cousin. And I think at that point, he was giving her the choice. And I guess if she had the choice, she didn't want to start there. But she's also very warm to Damon. So I don't know. We'll get to that. We'll get there. So back to that. Giving my shines to this little boy. House Black something. I'm going to get the name for the next time. So as this guy's haggling him, basically he makes one more comment and the kid just snaps and ups his sword. Like he is done with this nonsense. And like the guards would do, they rush Rhaenyra out of there. Sir Christian Cole hurries her off the chair that she's sitting on and they get her out of the room almost. We hear a quick 2-3 clangs of metal. We look back. The 18-year-old boy is on the ground with his stomach open, and this scrawny kid sitting there shaking his sword, looking like he just saw a ghost. And I died. God bless this little boy for not getting home.
And that 18-year-old, he was also one of the guys that was shooting his shot at Rhaenyra.
Everybody was.
Yeah, so they all just standing around
making unnecessary comments. She got dragons. What can you do? What can you do? It's like 6 people in the realm that got dragons. It's not, if you're not one of them, we're all operating from the same place. I got an army, a castle, and money like you got. It's just if she wants mine more than yours. That's all it comes down to.
That's it.
So,
but that was a good old.
It was nice and unexpected because I definitely expected this kid to be dead, and he did not at all die. I don't know what became of that after him. He said it. Like I saw that. I was like, this kid's gonna grow up and be a beast. I want to see him after the time.
It made me want to say Rhaenyra, like, okay, you might want to,
keep his number.
Consider,
Keep his raven. Keep a scroll ready for him to send on.
Quite the opposite. She hopped right on her dragon back. She say, I'm getting out of here now.
Rhaenyra wanted no part of this, regardless. Even if she found a good and reasonable suitor, Rhaenyra does not want to get married. And she was pretty much putting out that energy very clearly throughout the entirety of the process. And she even decides to quit the marriage tour that her and the queen set up for her early, apparently 2 months early.
2 months.
They had a lot of people lined up, apparently.
Which might have been even sooner than that because, hell, they had to travel by sea. Wherever they was at, and God knows how long that took.
Right. So she says F everything that they pretty much spent the time, money, and resources to set up for her. I want to go home.
So the queen was pretty pissed with her. And you know what? This is the same episode where Damon makes his return from the Stepstone.
Yes, it is. And we're just
after his victory.
Thrilled to see Damon back after his conquest at the Stepstones. And he comes in and
that fight scene was like one of the top 10 Game of Thrones.
I liked it. Series. I saw a lot of people having some grievances with the fact that we didn't see him physically kill the crab feeder. That we just get the cut and he's coming out with him cut in half.
You think it's because the crab feeder was hella CGI?
I don't think it's that. I personally just think it was because the crab feeder was not a combatant. He wasn't a warrior. He was a figurehead dude that just had a bunch of strong people that were following him, and Damon was really about that action. So once you removed him from the legion of followers, and it's a one-on-one with swords, he looked flimsy. He looked like Sir Blackwell with a mask on.
Him too hard.
Right, and Damon got hands, so I pretty much took it as he got him alone, and he pretty much cut him up easy, and they just brought him out. And I didn't need to see him.
I didn't feel like I needed to see him.
I don't need to see you easily dismantle somebody that looks like you could beat in the fight easily. If it's a competition, sure. I don't need to see you easily beat up somebody.
Step on a rope.
Yeah, it's fine. That's good.
Basically.
The scene of you coming out with him cut in half and dragging his body into with your sword in the other hand was much better visually for me. I'm like, look at this badass.
Yeah.
He just messed him up, and he just, and he go, yeah, come on.
Crab Feeder don't even look like he probably put up much of a
I'm
fight.
sure the crab. I guarantee after he got in that cave, the Crab Feeder was okay. Look, bro, like I'm not even. Hold on, like let's talk about this.
Like a roach for real after you step on.
Right, like I'm not even. It's not even that. You got a dragon. Relax. It's not even that serious.
Speaking of dragons, so I was this episode years old, 5 episodes in years old, when I realized that House Valerian has dragons too.
Yes, they do.
Because I thought that so in that crab feeder scene, when Lord Laner rode the dragon, I thought that he had got on Damon's dragon.
No, that was
that was his own.
Yeah, that was it.
Because I was like, wait, I think Damon will be
Damon
mad
has
somebody get on his dragon.
None of them do that shared riding thing. The ones that are riders, pretty much that's your one that you bond with.
I was like, damn, he riding the juice out that dragon like he done rode a dragon. Okay, that's because it was his dragon.
Yeah, that was because of that.
Okay. Well,
Daenerys had the benefit of a couple she was allowing other people to get friendly with, and the regular customs, your dragon don't really get close to anybody but that one person. So pretty much that was it. So yeah, that was his. The House of Valerian is the only other
House of Old Valyrian.
No, the only old House of Old Valyria that has as many dragons as the Targaryen house currently has now. So that was part of the reason why it was such a necessity to pull them in. They have the biggest fleet in all the 7 kingdoms, and they have as many dragons.
Only old Valyrians have dragons.
Of the houses that came over that survived, that migrated over. So so they have as many dragons as the king's faction.
So I'm talking about old Valyria, and you see Daemon and Rhaenyra speaking in High Valyrian. Which I think is so cool. And then like in the middle of the
one of the grievances I have about it though,
what?
And it's only a production thing, they need to do better with the subtitles for them with the talking when they do the High
They
Valyrian.
so tiny.
They're so tiny, and they're using this gold tinted font that's really dark, and it blends into the bottom of the screen really heavily. I can read it fine, but you need to enlarge it. Production people do better with that. But I like the High Valyrian dialect that they have, and they trying to have that
extra layer of elite and exclusivity. This is why we reign, and because even like now with the Queen just dying in England, it's always that question as to what is the significance of these people playing these roles. And so that just give another layer, like they speak a language only the royal and elites.
They kept as much pomp around themselves to keep them a level above everybody as much as you possibly could, to the point where they even manifested a secondary version of their own language to be like, this is the version only the royals speak of this.
Because you got to think about anybody who haven't read the books and who watched Game of Thrones. And in Game of Thrones, you hear all of this hoopla, all of this raving about the Targaryens and their era, and then so now we get to see them.
It's nice seeing them in prominence, because I've read some of the books, but I haven't gotten through everything, and it's still just nice getting a physical application for seeing them well, because like you said, in the Game of Thrones era, we're getting this sad remnants of this proud people that we hear about that were so, they were the best warriors.
And they were so crazy, which we have yet to see. I feel like that's going to be like a season finale type.
I think that we get tidbits of it, but I think that it's going to be one of those things that's going to come out more as conflict starts to arise. Because we kind of start the show in the era of peace when things are kind of just going fine. Like this crab feeder thing is the first real rustle and feathers they've had for a minute. Kind of similar to how Game of Thrones starts off, where they don't really have any issues right away because they've been dealing with peace for 15, 17, 20 plus years type of thing. So I think that we'll maybe get to see more of their reactions to things as more bad is happening to them. Like Damon, I already get some of that vibe from him of a little bit off the spectrum.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, Damon, yes, I could definitely see it happening in Rhaenyra.
Rhaenyra, I think hers is going to come later on when she's older.
It's
after
simmering under the surface.
I think it's going to come.
It's going to explode.
Once it's, I think it's going to be the biggest once her dad passes and she's really feeling the heat of the people opposing her and the people that not like, look, we entertained this while your father was alive, but we ain't really with it. Your brother needs to be king.
Was it Aegon? I can't remember if Aegon was one of the good ones or the bad ones. Aegon is second of his name, right?
So there are two Aegons.
Right, like those two big ones and two Aegon.
Yeah.
Okay.
This Aegon, his younger brother,
Aegon
is the
the
first.
Conqueror.
Yeah, that's the first Aegon, and then this Aegon is the second, and then I forgot what her third brother's name is, but we'll get there.
We'll get there. But when we I mean in Game of Thrones, you know, they always talk about Aegon, but I can't remember if he was good or bad.
Well, that Aegon was Aegon the Conqueror, and his good or bad is more a matter of perception of what side you was on. So he came over from Valyria to Westeros and took over the continent. So if you were with him, you could look at it as a matter of he was good because you got to come over and see him take over and build a dynasty in the Seven Kingdoms.
I'm trying to get an idea of what Rhaenyra's little brother is gonna be like.
Oh,
that Aegon. So that's why I asked that. That's why I wonder about that.
I forget. I've done a little reading on his general character. Like the older they get, is where my knowledge on it starts to get lesser and lesser. I don't remember him being any type of malicious person, but I know that the conflict of him feeling like he's going to be in support of the people that want him to be king as well. He ain't gonna be like, that's my sister, she should keep it. Like he's going to have his own bid for it that he's making as well, because as he gets older, Alicent is gradually going to start veering him away from him more and more. Like they're not going to be brother sister close. Like
she's going to be. I figured that much.
Pretty much. Well, we jumping around with that to that. So
okay, we left off at the name day.
Yeah. Now we had Rhaenyra's courtship. She's back home and she has declined all the marriage proposals on who she can take on as a potential suitor, and basically has to come home and deal with the king talking to her and expressing all the trouble he went through setting up all those matches and the inconvenience that it is, and basically that she has to accept the fact she has to start playing ball. Like if she wants to have the benefits of keeping the position and title that her dad has endowed on her, she has to start filling and checking some of these boxes, and marriage is the first one that you need to check to make sure the kingdom feels secure with my decision today. 100%. You can't be just single out here living your best life and you're supposed to be queen. Like the realm is already on my ass about making you there. You gotta help me with this decision and let people see you stable, like I'm telling them that you can be, because I'm not gonna live to be old.
Which is one of ends up warming up to that.
She's warming up and she's talking about it
after
more.
Damon's that night, and not even just that moment that we're gonna get to that we keep.
We getting there. I promise.
We almost there. But even like when Damon, well, let's just talk about that. The night how it began.
So basically, Rhaenyra comes back, and Damon also comes back around this same period of time as well. And there's a big, general discussion and an understanding that Rhaenyra is going to have to, lock in about this marriage thing. So in the midst of that, Damon, being the good uncle that he is, decides that he's gonna sneak her out of the palace because she doesn't really get much free time to do anything like that anymore. He's like, yeah, we'll have some fun because you're not gonna really get to do this much longer, and pretty much after you married, you locked in, you ain't really gonna have any of to just dip off by yourself moments. Alicent does not get those. You're not gonna get those.
No.
And you're gonna be queen, so you're really not gonna get those.
Yep.
So it starts off fine. Like it really does not open like and it's cool because he even leaves her a disguise, dress up like a boy, like some clothes and everything. It's a nice scene where a knight catches her.
Harry Potter Dumbledore, like sending her on the
just a nice night out with some nice, like up until this point, Damon had really been exhibiting some interesting relationship conflicts with Rhaenyra internally. He truly seems like he cares about her. Like he cares about her well-being.
Like he gave when he gave her that necklace.
Yeah, like he cares about her lineage and wants her to constantly carry their people's, you know.
Well, they did have that little tidbit that we didn't speak on, where he stole the dragon egg.
Oh yeah. So
that was actually when you first start to see some sort of dissension between the two.
Yes.
Like, okay, they might have an issue.
Up until that point, it pretty much seems like even though Damon should, by all rights, you would assume, being the male heir, that up until that point, before her little brother is born, would have been king, should have not cared for her. But he still was, up until that point, very much putting out good energy, caring about how she's doing and about her freedom, and just generally about her happiness. He speaks about that consistently as the episode's going about. Is this what you want? About you being happy, about living your life the way you want to, because that's how he lives his life. And he seems like he very much feels he wants that for Rhaenyra. So, wanting that for Rhaenyra, he sneaks her out of the castle and they go out onto the town, and it starts out really nice and innocent. They're walking through some of the castle streets, and you know, there's street performers doing little magic tricks, and people are selling food, and you know, they're doing little shows and things of that nature. And it's like, oh, okay, this feels like, you know, an uncle that took his niece out to the carnival just because you got a lot of responsibility coming, so I'm gonna just take you out for some fun.
Yeah.
Now, quickly after that, it starts to transition into a more mature outing. It transitions first into some bars and some taverns, and they go and get drunk.
Yeah, drunk.
Quite drunk.
Especially
and
for her, because she definitely wasn't drinking at that
time. Yeah, not at that point in time. So they both got pretty slapped, but well enough to, you know, be able to walk on to the next bar and et cetera, et cetera. So after a series of taverns, Damon basically sets it up. The scene is framed like they're finna go home. That's what I thought when I first watched it. Like, they do a couple of series of turns and alleys, and it feels like they hitting a shortcut to head back to the palace.
That's what
like I'm like, okay, the night's over. We had some drinks. When he
snatched her disguise.
Yeah, he took her hat and everything.
Yeah,
I assume we're just heading back. I'm gonna take these clothes. You go back inside. Had nice fun out. See you later.
See you later, Niecy Poo.
But where we end up is actually at a brothel. And
that's when all the red flags went up.
The red flags went up at that point in time, and Rhaenyra's red flags go up because Damon just goes in. Like, there's no discussion when they get there. He just walks in. Rhaenyra pauses for a second, and she's looking around like she knows what this is, and then she kind of hesitates, but then she just walks in right after.
I do kind of think she probably was like too intoxicated to process it all.
I feel like she was, but I feel like that
made her a little more willing to go along.
I'm sure it was that. I think as a whole, there were some internal inhibitions that were definitely lightened by this, but part of me read it as well that Rhaenyra was cool with Yeah.
We're going with it because she's never seen it before.
Never seen it, and she was finna see a lot. So we head into the brothel, and it's basically straight out of Littlefinger's Best Place. So you got every piece of flesh, every which way, getting flung everywhere.
Girl on girl, boy on boy, and girl on boy.
Whatever you like.
Girl. It was.
And Dana was kind enough to narrate it for us as they're walking through, like, you know, what this was like.
And I seen all through high school. I seen it was rooms and rooms up because it's a brothel.
And it's a big one at that.
I never see any money exchange.
No.
Or like anybody,
I don't know if he paid
running the house.
No, not at all.
Is it like an entry fee at the door?
It could have been that, or maybe they just got the girls working the floor with an understanding. They just handle their own management. It's like one or two people that handle the place type of thing. Oh. I don't know. With Littlefinger's, like, he had a head girl that was managing the spot, but he also seemed like he was running a more classy. This was not Littlefinger's brothel.
No, exactly.
This was the back alley. Clear. Like, that's the part we have to clarify. This was not. This is the whorehouse that you saw in Winterfell at the beginning of the series that Tyrion gets introduced in when he hitting them redheads. It's very much some in the gutter type of place.
Gutter in rooms with fucking sheets for curtains.
Oh yeah.
Like,
so
plastic for curtains.
Yes.
Like, it's very raunchy.
Very raunchy.
But they walking through, they cruising on through, and Rhaenyra seemed like she getting some feelings in herself, and Damon is definitely egging on some feelings.
Damon's
within
just, yeah,
her
he's just
and
pushing it. And Rhaenyra just kind of seemed like she gradually picking
going
up the
along
vibe
with
as they
it.
walking through. She's seeing everything she needs. So she's like, okay. This is my type of place. Ain't nobody telling me to leave or stop. I can't be here.
Yeah.
The freedom seems like it intoxicated her just as much as the liquor. Just to be able to be
That's
somewhere
true.
that you shouldn't have been and
Because
nobody
again,
was
at
telling
that
you
point,
stop.
her costume was on.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, so you could see who she was.
And it felt that kind of fit the tone of the place they were in, because basically this is the prince and the heir to the Iron Throne, and they're walking through here. No one's stopping it. No one's even acknowledging it. Everybody's just in their own vibe, as I guess you would be,
Free.
being free and freaky as they get. So we hit a couple of turns, and again, my hopes were still up at this point. I'm hoping maybe
I
this
knew
was,
something was wrong.
I knew
From
something
the
was
minute
wrong.
they hit that brothel and I saw what was going on, I'm instantly like, okay, yeah, this is gonna turn left at some point.
I knew something was wrong, but I was hoping the high hope that maybe at worst.
I didn't think it was gonna go.
No. It didn't think that.
I will say that.
I was hoping at worst maybe we'd have Damon gives her a peep show of some things she ain't seen, and maybe we dip out the back door and then we leave.
I thought maybe they were going so far as to even paying somebody to do a little something with her. I'm like, okay,
all
maybe.
of those things could have been better than what we got, but unfortunately, what we got was much worse. So we get to the final back room, and it's still more of what's been going on across the general floor. It's everybody just fucking in every which corner around them, and Damon starts this seductive ass, creepy ass speech. Monologue. Yes, thank you. This creepy ass seductive monologue of just basically hyping up to Rhaenyra that the necessity of you getting what you want. And we're in a place where people come to take what they want, and us more than anybody else should be able to do that.
Take what we want.
And if that means you want somebody or you want something, you should be able to have it or take it or fuck it if that's what you want to do. Yeah. And Rhaenyra's sitting there like she's at a poetry jam, just vibing off the speech. Like she is really like she should have.
She was so with the shit.
She could have just been. She could have been in the audience snapping like she was supporting. She, damn, okay, I feel this. Damn, you are talking. This thing is preaching. What else you got? And as he's saying this, without a care in the world, he gradually just starts undressing himself and her in clear view of everybody, and no one bats an eye, and Rhaenyra don't stop him or doesn't show any hesitation or resistance or.
And that's what was so shocking, because I thought that once he went into that with her, I really thought she was gonna pull back or was gonna be some type of pushback, but she leaned.
I'm gonna be honest with you. At this point in the scene, I was expecting it to be he ends up raping Rhaenyra in this brothel. That's what I thought we were getting to. He didn't need to. She was going to give it to him with no problem. Now, they have been somewhat eluding.
Yeah, I couldn't help it. Rhaenyra was ready.
She was definitely ready. Oh God. So they've been gradually dropping small hints of a romantic familiarity with Rhaenyra and Daemon pretty much since he gave her necklace. It felt even then a little bit just
on the rewatch.
Yeah. On the rewatch, it felt like they were just slightly like, this is a little something, but it
very had some sexual tension there, like on the rewatch,
or just something like some type of general intimacy level of comfortability. Something was waiting, but I tried to look past it and look for just an uncle that was giving his niece a nice gift. But now we back in the brothel, so we passed that, and he's giving her something else. So after Daemon has stripped, not completely, but removed Rhaenyra's pants and gotten inside of her, he pretty much moves over to a wall and pins her there, and they proceed to continue having sex. And this is where the scene gets odd, and I will transition this into a question. Rhaenyra and this is still my speculation. They're still alluding to it in the show. They've said it enough for my general impression.
Oh, you talking about Daemon and
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this will lead into a question about that I'll pose to you and just as a whole. So as this is happening and they're pretty much going at it for a second, for whatever reason, Daemon stops. and pretty much has this look on his face of kind of like a conflict and puzzlement and uncertainty if he should be doing this, but kind of also like he wants to be doing this. He looks like Damon looks sometimes just really at war with himself about what he should be doing.
And you know what? I definitely don't think he expected.
I don't think he expected her to go that willingly.
Yeah.
I think he expected some resistance, and maybe that would have made him feel better about it.
I think so.
But the fact that she was just like, "Yeah,"
caught him totally off.
And I don't know if it just made him a little bit like wavered him, or he just nervous, whatever. But Damon stops and basically removes himself from Rhaenyra and steps back, and she's sitting there still trying to go at it at this point. Like she's at this point instigating. She's like, "Nah, we in now. Like you done. I heard the speech. You was spitting bars. We in now. Like you need to stop playing." Nobody's watching it, and then Damon leaves. Like just leaves her there. Like no words, says nothing. And she's sitting there, no pants on, just looking confused and puzzled like she did something wrong, and then gets dressed and then runs home. Now, this is pivotal for one, the question I'm gonna ask, and two, what happens after this. First, the question I'll ask, I guess, to start there. Not including the knowledge that I shared with you about the future events that are gonna happen with Damon and his offspring. Do you think that Damon has some form of an impotency problem? Because between the not consummating the marriage with his wife in the veil, the instance here where he seemed to be sexually stimulated at the idea of sleeping with Rhaenyra, but when it came down to it, something seemed to have shut him off. Something, and then the whorehouse scenes. Something with sex with Damon keeps seeming like something is halting him as soon as he gets started.
So we kind of mentioned it a little, like a speculation of one of my ideas of what it could be. Before I even go there, dare I say he has some sort of health issue?
It could be that.
Whether it be mental or physical health. And sometimes people be so focused on getting something done that the stress will cause them. It
some performance anxiety type of thing could definitely be a thing.
That's what it is. I think it's some performance anxiety, but I also think it also could be, is he gay or bisexual? Because I'm noticing that all of these instances are with women, different women. He seemingly wanted Rhaenyra. He seemingly wanted the whore. He didn't want his wife, but still, she was still.
And they were all, relatively attractive for their caliber. And
ages.
One of the things that I will say, jumping ahead to an episode 5 scene, I don't know if you caught the line.
What?
When they're at the wedding, and he first has the conversation with Corlys's daughter, Rhaenyra. He makes the comment, "Has anybody ever told you you're almost as pretty as your brother?"
I heard that, but I didn't know how to take it.
Now, granted, I will say this. There were a lot of instances, especially even in Game of Thrones, where male characters made reference to other male characters being attractive, and not in a homosexual way. It was in almost a jokingly way, like a way to punk them, like he's really pretty. A couple people said it about Jon Snow in Game of Thrones, that he's prettier than most of the girls most of the time walking around. He has soft features.
Like they was busting his balls.
It wasn't like a bad, like he's a long haired dude and he has soft features. It was a joke you'd make for a lot of rough guys at the time who were used to stone chin bearded dudes, and you got this dude walking around, he looks like he models. So it's like, so
for sure.
When I heard that, it split the fork for me. Part of me thought, he's busting your brother's balls because he's the head family house, and even though y'all are sitting here essentially trying to kiss ass to this lesser family because you need their resources to keep the Targaryens together, you still consider yourself above them, so you might just make a joke for the sake of making a joke. Or you think her brother's actually fine.
Yeah, and given the impotency issues,
it's just turning the wheels in my head as I'm seeing it. I've not seen him have a successful sexual encounter yet with a woman in this series, but he's been with a lot of women so far.
They keep putting it out there that he keeps having this impotency issue, but they're not addressing
what it is, and it's
I think they don't want to expose his character's sexuality too soon for the sake of maybe They probably won't. I don't see them really revealing something like that until maybe a season or two in.
Oh yeah, it's nothing you have to rush to.
Yeah.
And it's like if this is what it's leading to, I at least feel that they're doing a successful job leaving breadcrumbs for you to allude to at least be like, okay, I'm picking up what y'all putting down if this is what you're doing. Mm-hmm. If it's not that, I'd be interested to see what else it is, because unless it's a health thing, I don't know what could be stopping it. Because it's like you said, his wife in the veil, even if you didn't feel she was a potential match that was worthy of you, she was still pretty, and that was still, she brought in resources and a kingdom and an army, and that's not the worst person to father an heir to if you had to. Then you had the little whore that you wanted to name your second wife that you seemed to like, I guess, because we keep seeing her in
she
packages.
was in a few episodes.
But then he was with her and stopped again, and seemed like for whatever reason he couldn't keep going. And then the Rhaenyra thing, she was as ready to go as any of them has been so far that I don't see he's had, and stopped again. So I'm
maybe he okay, it's a few things that go through my mind. Maybe he taking shit. Maybe
it could be that,
because it seemed like he was with it with Rhaenyra until he saw how much she was going along with it. Then that kind of made him not really want it like that.
Right.
Or maybe it's some childhood trauma that they may address on. See, we don't know where they gonna take.
Yeah. It's a lot of different open forks for it that we can still go. But yeah, so getting to the night, we got there. Damon has
Rhaenyra's wild night.
Yeah, Damon has taken half. We ain't even finished. The night's still young. So we're there, and Rhaenyra is on her way home, having just given her virginity to her uncle, and she seems to be fine. Even though he just left her in the brothel, she's not upset. She's not crying. She pretty much just goes to her room, and she's cool. And standing outside of her chambers, as he's always positioned to do, is our boy Sir Christian Cole, doing his job, watching her room, just trying to be the dutiful young man that he is. And Rhaenyra, being the little fast-ass girl that she is, feeling herself tonight and just still a little amped up, and I guess having not gotten everything she was looking for at the brothel, she comes back and goads Sir Christian first into coming into her chambers, playing keep away with his helmet on some. He knew what this shit was about to be, but he was trying his best to be like, please just let me go back outside. I don't want to die for this ass. I don't want to die. But not being able to say no, because he's very much smitten with Rhaenyra, as everybody is, because that's, you would be. He goes in, and the scene, they have sex, and I personally, is a good, I guess, conversation segue. These two scenes as a parallel were really interesting to me. Because both, in a sense, depending on where your mind rests on does or doesn't count and how much it applies to, if that was her first time with Damon, it was, but to what capacity. These two encounters technically represent her whole virginity being lost within the night over these two pieces. Yes. And I felt like both of them were shot and done in a very different way. The one with Damon felt very gritty and lustful, and this, we shouldn't be doing this, but that's why we want it type of thing. The Christian Cole scene was really like some nice young adult intimacy. Like, it felt like a nice deflowering thing. Like, when I watched it, I was like, I wish this was just what happened. I wish Damon didn't have anything. I wish it was just you just gave your virginity to Christian Cole because you liked him. I'd have really been fine with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I totally agree. Number one, and 100%. I definitely wish the brothel scene wouldn't have happened at all. And I definitely, I don't know. I don't feel like a Rhaenyra sex scene was needed.
I don't feel like it was needed for the version of her at this age.
Well,
considering we'll be following her for a while, I don't think we need a teenage Rhaenyra sex scene.
For the point of the storyline, I can understand what
it served the purpose.
They did it.
It served the purpose.
But it seemed like extensive to me. They could have just showed a little something going on and then kept it going, but it was like a few minutes long.
I would have even taken it if we still got the entire night out with Damon, even up until the brothel, and then they go in the back. He tries to kiss her, she pushes off and leaves, and then just goes home. And then Christian Cole thing happens. I'd have much rather. I'd have took that as just like, we still got to try to get our little bit of incest in, and we don't go all the way. But just knowing the fact that Damon hit his 17-year-old niece is just like, I didn't want that to happen.
But like you say, the way it was parallel, like I guess in the scene with Damon, in a way she was giving up her power, and in the scene with Christian Cole, she was taking it back.
Yeah, because she definitely represents the not to put it like that, but she represents the top in the relationship with Christian Cole.
Oh, for sure.
She's the one of power, of motive, and he's very much just, you know,
and she was just thoroughly manipulated.
With Damon, he pretty much represent all the control in that situation. And the part that I guess this is the part we can speak to. She
still has a high level of immaturity.
Yeah,
she still is not seeing the forest for the trees.
No, she's very much living in the moment in a lot of these things and just going off of what feels good to her at this point in time.
Yeah.
Because every part of her life is telling her what she's gonna have to do. And it's like it almost feels like the teen angst is kind of coming to this explosion because she's under this realization that my life is going to get taken away from me soon. I'm not going to be able to move how I want to. I'm not going to be able to come and go as I please. So I'm just going to rebel and do everything I can while I can until I get locked into this marriage, which is where we end up at the end of episode 5. But I guess as a transition or a mix for that, a question to pose. Do you think, even after all of this, because there's a scene obviously that we can address at the wedding feast, but an exchange between Damon and Rhaenyra that happens. Do you think, let me see, I guess I will get posing this. Do you think there'll be another exchange like that between Damon and Rhaenyra?
Do I think that they're done with a shebang?
Will they be messing around again? Mind you that the next time we will see them will be 10 years from now.
You know, it's kind of hard to say. Given the fact that Rhaenyra does end up marrying Laenor Valerian, and it's alluded to the fact that Damon might possibly have something going on in his life by the time we come back for episode 6.
Yeah.
So the only way I could see them having a rendezvous really is if they decide to join forces against Aegon becoming king.
Which could be a possibility because at the very least, we know that Rhaenyra is now married. Mm-hmm. She's married at the end of episode 5. So when we jump 10 years in the future, she's going to be into it at that point. Mm-hmm. So the question, I guess, would really be, well, I guess jumping around.
Unless they be on some Jamie and
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, like some sneaky link shit.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, clearly they definitely got some
the attraction and sexual tension is there.
Yeah.
And clearly I think Damon is going to want to have a full chance to go through with that, as Rhaenyra probably does.
Damon need a full chance to go through with it, period. So
we got to figure out what's going on with Damon.
Let's figure that out.
Give my man some medieval extends or something. Whatever he's struggling with, whatever the blue pill is. Look, they came out with an abortion drink for Rhaenyra in this age. If they got that, they got a pill they can give him. So let's just quickly jump to that.
Okay.
So post Rhaenyra's wild night, one of the things that happens is there's a child, little bird, outside of the whorehouse after the events of everything that happens with Rhaenyra and Damon and everything. And he sees and goes and tells Otto Hightower, the current hand of the king, and
who's also Lady Alicent's father.
Lady Alicent's father. And he, obviously getting that information, then does his job of going through the difficult position of telling the king, so this was what happens. So he goes to the king and tells him that this is what I've heard, this is what my people are telling me. They were in a whorehouse, they were drinking,
and the king made it such a painful scene.
Oh my god!
Like,
I mean, as you would.
He couldn't.
The last thing you want to hear is that your 17-year-old daughter fucked your 30-something-year-old younger brother. You don't want to hear that.
In the middle of a brothel.
In the middle of a brothel. You don't want none of this.
The royalty of
none of this. All this is bad. So he goes through this very theatric denial thing of not wanting to accept it, but he knows in his heart because he knows how his brother is. And he also feels the resistance of his daughter. He's like, I could see this. He's pissed as hell about it, but he's angry because he knows it's true in his heart. He's like, yeah, I know. So
yeah, he could see it happening with both of them because of how they are.
Yeah.
And then at the same time as he's receiving this message, unbeknownst to Otto, Allison is in the room and hears it, which makes her very upset because
she is heartbroken.
I'm doing all of this.
Her sister has betrayed her. Yeah. That's her best friend, and she is breaking her neck, trying her best to find her a match. Not just a match that's going to serve the kingdom. That's one of the things that we have to keep in mind. There are a lot of betrothal relationships where the match gets chosen off of what will best suit the kingdom. One of the things I say as a benefit to both King Viserys and Alicent, they both cared enough about Rhaenyra where they were really trying to find her a decent guy who also could help serve the kingdom. They didn't just get her some fat lord that was going to be beating on her and had 10,000 troops. They went to work and put together a real marriage.
People fairly young.
Some young
I didn't
people,
really see any
not the old. The oldest person they had suiting for her was Jason Lannister. That's the oldest person they had. Yep. And he was more slimy than old, so it wasn't even like he was like old. And it wasn't
like in his 30s and that.
Yeah.
He was like maybe 20s, and most of them, they had a lot to offer. Yeah. Very bright futures to contribute.
They were all malleable enough with Rhaenyra being the strong woman that she is. If she had to marry them, she could have rolled over any of these dudes. She could have been fine and made it work. So Alicent overhears this conversation, and she's very distraught. But before she can react, she has to get confirmation from Rhaenyra. So she summons her and basically asks her straight up, my dad has made some troubling accusations about you, and he's told the king it's not looking good. I need you to tell me straight up what happened with you and your uncle. And Rhaenyra denies it, which I'm not mad at.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at.
Can't lay all your cards out like that.
Not even lay all your cards. This is not something you'd admit, period. Even to your best friend. You don't tell your best friend you fuck your uncle. This is something we don't talk about again, period.
Yeah, that's a carry to the grave type of moment.
Carry to the grave. As soon as you find out it's somebody watching you and that caught that first tells me, okay, I can't run around being sloppy doing this again, and this can't happen again. That's it. Take it to the grave. But she denies it, and it's not that Rhaenyra sells it poorly. I think Alicent has just known her long enough to tell when she's lying, and she kind of even alludes to when she's sitting there. It's like she's giving her the face like she's believing.
She can tell she's not getting the full
something happened. Even if y'all didn't have sex, something happened.
Something happened that you're not telling me.
Yeah.
But even being a good loyal friend, she still was trying to give her the benefit of the doubt and even advocated for her to her father, which led him to, I guess, taking it much easier on her than he probably would have.
I mean, he said he originally was going to disown her, like he did Daemon. Like that was the original plan. I was going to disown her, and he even does similar to Alicent. He talks to Daemon and confirms. And Daemon, on the other hand, is not Rhaenyra.
No,
Daemon walks in, balls straight out, and says comfortably, "I did it. What's the big deal? When we were younger, we was fucking everybody. We were boys. I mean, so better it be with me than some whore for her first time." It's his direct line. I said that. I was like, man, the balls.
The audacity was
my God.
Getting handed out for free that day.
He did not care
he
whatsoever.
Picked up several barrels on the way to the castle of audacity because he stood in that man's kingdom in his Iron Throne room with all them knives and said that.
And the knife at his throat and said, "Yeah, brother, it was me. I did it." And the king, even then, does not have him killed, does not punish him. He banishes him, but in the grand scheme of things, he lets him off.
Banish him 50 times.
Yeah, you didn't put him out of the castle. It's like even he slept with your daughter, you're not going to do anything to your brother. So it's clear of that. He doesn't rock with him after that, but he lets it go.
Do you think Viserys kind of scared of Daemon or what he would do? I'm gonna go ahead with a yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and say that.
He's afraid of the overall conflict.
Consequences, of
I think
him giving what I feel like would be fair and justifiable punishment.
Oh no!
I don't feel like he's been.
He could have killed. People have died for less than this time.
Yeah, he's not received the proper punishment. But that's not him. That was just a question.
No. I mean, it's definitely possible because I think he knows he's unstable, and Daemon at this point, between the little war victory he had with the crab feeder, he had some army support from that. He didn't have Corlys anymore, but he had a little support. plus the gold cloaks, if that was still under his
That's
arm
true.
or not.
Yeah.
I think ultimately it just wasn't worth antagonizing him overly, but he knew he had to slap him on the nose every so often to check him, like, all right, calm down. So I guess.
So that didn't go well. Damon definitely got banished.
Damon did get banished. Damon didn't care.
And now Rhaenyra has to marry somebody.
And now we're kind of out of options for viable people that can be both just to her and beneficial to the realm. So
they can get it done swiftly.
Yes. So the king gets backed into a corner where he is going to have to secede and go out of his way to propose a marriage to Lord Corlys for his son, because Lord Corlys, obviously being the richest man in the kingdoms, he has the largest fleet in all of the 7 kingdoms. His family has the second largest cache of dragons of all the other people within the 7 kingdoms. It made sense that if you brought the 2 houses together, you should be comfortable going forward after you step off the throne, that Rhaenyra and her match should be able to keep things stable going forward. Mm-hmm. So the king unwillingly, but willingly goes out of his way to travel and go make the bid to Lord Corlys to ask for his hand. And he asked for an interesting succession at first.
Yeah.
He says that he will agree to the marriage only under the agreement that Rhaenyra and Laener's
firstborn
keep his name of Valerian.
Which I think that if the king goes on to grants him that under the condition that once that firstborn rises to the throne, then they have to take on the name Targaryen.
Correct.
I think that the Valerians would have took the proposal whether he made that compromise or not.
They put the energy out there that they would have, but I also think that Lord Corlys also has his agenda. Even he's supporting his own agenda
too. Yeah,
he wants his name on the Iron Throne.
Yeah.
And I think that irregardless of the fact of him knowing that, one, it would be foolish to decline the proposal from the king to get the princess. And 2, it would just ultimately be more beneficial to just get in line. Like Corlys seems like he's just trying to play the long game of waiting them out to just get his people on the throne, which is probably going to end up happening. But just ultimately,
I think that so far, the king has been a very fair king.
Oh yeah,
he's been very fair.
I'd argue he's been the most fair king that we've seen in these 2 series of all the kings that we've seen. For sure. Of the guys that ran the Iron Throne, made it to the top. Not like you was king of the North or king of the Iron Islands or any other subcategory.
But even with Ned, I don't even know if he was this. Like we don't know what Ned could have became, but still, I think that he was. And I don't think he was soft either. This king is not even
not soft, but not Daemon hard either.
No.
Daemon ain't as hard as he need to be most of the time.
No. He didn't abuse his power like the Lannisters.
No. He very much seems like he's trying his best to try to do what's necessary to ensure peace continues for the kingdom. But he also wants to ensure that peace is with his family leading it, which I can't fault him for, because that's been what it's been for the last couple of generations. So
the bone I had to pick though about that, taking our Targaryen name once the heir rose to ascension is can't they just change that line? Just like they changed.
Theoretically, you would assume, because it always comes down to what is this person's word worth once they're dead. In the original Game of Thrones, after Robert dies, he basically leaves a note that makes Ned the one that's supposed to be serving as king, and basically Cersei is like, no, Joffrey is king. My son is king. Fuck that paper that my husband signed. He's dead too. I don't care what that means. And I think it's going to be one of those situations like that. How much does your worth and your words matter once you pass? If people really rock with you, maybe they'll keep those decrees in place, and maybe they would keep the Targaryen name. But
I don't see them allowing that to happen.
On the opposite side, like they said, it's a line they say about Corlys, and specifically, what's his face says it, the new hand of the king. What is his name? Lord Lionel.
Lionel.
Lord Lionel. he says it about Lord Colas, and he's describing him in like episode 2 or 3. He was like, proud men don't like looking upward or something like that. We was talking about him. And I think that it fit very much with his character, that he's somebody that as long as the option is on the table to ascend, he's going to find a way to do it. And I think that that second best thing is just not something that he's okay with. He's going to ride his position out, but I think like that. If it came down to it, the king passes, him and Rhaenyra's kids are on the throne, I think that a Valerian would end up sitting there if it's not somebody really pressing him about the Targaryen name being kept up. I don't know how much Rhaenyra would care about that at that point in time either, but we'll see.
Yeah, I thought about that, but that was a fair. So they came to a fair, an equitable compromise.
Oh yeah,
is the line.
Oh yeah,
they came to a very equitable compromise,
yes.
And so Laenor's gonna marry Rhaenyra, or he ends up marrying Rhaenyra after some very unfavorable events. But before we even go there, I'm deeply questioning what type of king consort Lord Laenor's gonna be. He don't seem to have much backbone, although he's known for being a great warrior.
Yeah, he's not. He's given me very much Loras Tyrell vibes.
Yeah,
he's given me. He's probably
the Tyrells is their name.
It is.
Yeah, the Tyrells. Yeah.
Like I very much feel like he's somebody that's probably a good fighter and probably has some military knowledge, just being a knight and of that realm, of that zeitgeist of information. But as far as general leadership, he does not strike me as that. He doesn't come off particularly strong.
No, he comes off real fragile.
Very much like a fragile
and a little naive too, maybe, to how things work. Because it seemed like his guy is putting him up on.
His guy very much is. His guy strikes me how Loras was in Renly's ear. Like, yeah, baby, you know, you can be king, and you know, I'm gonna support you, and I'm gonna fight for you, and people love you, and if we get enough people behind you, yeah, you can run it. I would not be surprised.
Even more of the world too, because he was able to spot that Christian Cole was.
Oh yeah, he's very much his eyes. Like Laenor is not very much an aware personality. He seems good-hearted, but like the people that keep speaking about him say he's a virtuous person. He's just probably not like the smartest guy or the most cunning guy, but his man seems to be. So that's the segue. Is the Laenor's gay?
Laenor, it comes out.
Yeah.
As they say, some prefer goose and some prefer roasted duck.
Roasted duck.
Which he didn't take too kindly to be compared to.
He didn't,
birds.
But I mean.
But I love how they did that.
The analogy was as good as you was going to get for that conversation.
I love how
they wrote that fine.
And they like the way they led into it, because they didn't really put it, like I think they did put it out there, but it still left room for speculation, because you could have thought, well, maybe he don't like blondes. Maybe he just like brown hair, the gray hair girls,
I was even inferring from that when Rhaenyra said it. Maybe she's not even just implying, you like guys, you'll eat your fill. I'll have my guy, I'll eat my fill. Maybe her taste means my taste is Targaryens, and what I might be alluding to is you gonna be fine with me fucking my uncle later. You got to be fine with that type of thing. So I felt like it was open-ended enough where they were both trying to. Basically, the conversation they come to is after their betrothal is announced and decided, they have a conversation as cousins. First cousins. And say basically that, okay, we have to get married and we're going to have to do what's right for the kingdom because our names and our obligations are too big for us to just be like, we want to do what we want. However,
but I know you like me.
Yeah, you got your little things.
Whatever I
like whatever I'm feeling that day.
Because I'm feeling
everything. I'm feeling everything. It's Rhaenyra's way. So if whatever that might be. So instead of us creating ways for each other, let's knock out our obligations. And once everything's done, we let each other be in our own space. And Laenor,
and that went so smooth.
As smooth as you could ask for. Laenor pretty much was just like, man, cousin, right on. I'm with it. Yeah, it's gonna work fine.
Yes, and then so
it doesn't.
To his
but man. It doesn't. But yeah, his man very much seems like a calculating personality. I liked him.
I did. Yeah, like
past tense. I liked him. He seemed like
long.
when he got introduced, I thought he might be here a minute. He
Overzealous again.
I was hoping he'd be like the Renly Loras comparison. He would just be hyping him up as time went. I was even hoping later on there could have been a dialect that he was creating as a wedge between him and Rhaenyra once he's King Consort about, you know, you are king. Like, you need to not keep letting her, like, look, you're a Targaryen as much as she is.
Yes.
You're of old Valyria just as much as she is. You got a dragon like she does. You a king. You need to be treated as such.
That's what I meant, but I wonder what type of king consort, whatever he would be. Because you know, he don't really seem like he'd be that body decision maker. I could totally see his man. Yeah.
His man seemed like
pulling a lot of the strings behind closed doors, and his man and Rhaenyra possibly have.
I definitely thought it was.
I think I might want to see.
I got once I saw the layout of the land and I saw how he was moving, I got excited for him. I'm like, okay, this seems like this could be a good internal threat to be as an opposition for her within the marriage, on top of other stuff she got to worry about. But we ain't got to worry about that. We ain't got to worry about that.
He didn't make it past this one episode.
He didn't make it past dinner. So, after that light introduction and some back and forth, we fast forward to the climax of the episode 5, which is the marriage celebration dinner. And basically everyone is invited, all of the famous noble houses of the land, from House Lannister to Baratheon, and everyone in between is there. Lovely spread. It looks like the wedding feast for Joffrey's wedding to Marjorie. The shit was really
very nice,
very, very nice,
and full of people, full of families and stuff. I immediately, when the camera was panning, I saw it was a different range of emotions depending on where it was. I saw some people was jovial, and I saw some people that's like looked like they was plotting on the low.
Little plotting, the little
some people
shit
just
talking.
flat out not happy with some things.
Yeah.
Given that, you know, Otto Hightower of Old Town was fired as Hand of the King.
Yeah, so one of the things we quickly glossed over after Rhaenyra's wild night, man, that need to be canonized is what that's like. Like, once this season ends, I hope the general Game of Thrones like community is recognizing that it's Rhaenyra's wild night.
Rhaenyra's going wild.
Something. So after Otto does his job as he used to do, reporting to the king what he found out about Rhaenyra, basically later on, Rhaenyra, after everyone has had their little conversation around it, Rhaenyra talks to the king, and basically he confirms internally to himself that what happened with Daemon did take place, and basically she has been sullied. He basically tells her in so many words: one, you have an obligation. You can't afford to keep putting yourself in these precarious situations. Like, you represent the future. Like, it ain't just I'm leaving you a seat. I'm leaving you in charge, and you're having people question your virtue before you've even sat in the chair yet. It's a problem.
And Rhaenyra felt like, hey, this guy, your hand, the guy that's supposed to be protecting not only you but me too, actually got people out here spying on me because he's being overzealous, over aggressive about making his grandson the king, Aegon, which is the king Viserys and Alicent's oldest son.
Right.
So basically, Rhaenyra, they had to make a deal. She'll marry Laenor if the king, fires the hand. Otto. Right. So that also causes some dissension between.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that I feel as though both Viserys and Rhaenyra don't fully acknowledge the weight of what that decision means.
No, they act like
they're both very casual about it, like, all right, fuck you, just fire your assistant. So first, I feel like they both kind of, not they forgot, but like this is, so one of the things they tell us and allude to within the story is, first, Otto Hightower was handed the king before Viserys took over.
3 kings.
He serves 3 kings.
Yep.
He is he's like John Aaron of this generation. He's an old head hand of the king. He's good hands. He serves well. He does his job.
Yep.
For if he is plotting, up until this point, it hadn't been enough to get on nobody's bad side.
That also brings a question to my brain too. Jaehaerys, the king before, how long was he king?
I think Jaehaerys was king for a minute because I think he got old when he was sick, and that's what gradually led to him deciding between his younger descendants and nieces and nephews who's going to be king.
Because
So
with that being said, I'm trying to figure out how the hell long is Otto Hightower?
that's the part.
That would make him
he tells,
older
like
than the Viserys, but he looks very much.
The white hair of the Targaryen thing ages onto the face already, and then he already looks a little bit older in the face. Because, but no, I'm with you because he makes a comment when he's dismissing Otto that, like, you know, you taught me how to be king.
Yeah.
You taught me everything I know about doing this job. So at the very least, maybe Otto's not looking it in the face. 20 plus years older than Viserys, and he just looks good for his age, and Viserys looks bad for his.
Yeah,
maybe one of those.
Because he was sick.
Yeah, so maybe something like that. But yeah, so he dismisses Otto, and it's one of those things that they both, I feel, kind of undersell the importance of, because in addition to him being Hand of the King, Otto also represents the voice of Old Town. He's, you know, got ties to the, you know, community in that kingdom and that piece of the country, and the lineage with it. You know, he's an affiliate of theirs, and they basically fire him and send him home. So one, you have the worry of, did you just rub this very powerful and wealthy house the wrong way that you just fired one of their favorite sons?
But you can't expect Rhaenyra to know. She's not
thinking about it. Yeah, she's just kind of responding to it in the angry, I got caught doing my bad stuff and your assistant was watching me too closely, so I want you to fire him. Yeah. She's just acting on impulse off of the emotion of the situation. And I mean, I'm sure even if she had a moment to sit back and think about it, firing the Hand of the King over you doing something don't really make sense. Yeah. You doing something and he caught you doing something. Maybe he shouldn't have been watching too hard.
You are really riding for Otto Hightower.
I liked Otto Hightower.
Really
I like Otto. He was wrong. He might have. He might have. He might have.
Just came on so strong.
I feel that.
Because you have to remember, he came so thirsty the very next morning with this accusation, which was part, you know, it was accurate. And this is not even a year after the second name day of Aegon, which he brought it up then. And he's sending people to bring it up. He's every council meeting, he's bringing this up.
It's so, like, ultimately, Otto is very much
aware. Potential, and you know, it's very much giving. And this is why I think the king went on here and severed ties. You've been so close to the king, being a king so long, you'll do whatever it takes to make sure your family is on the Iron Throne. And I can't have nobody that close to me. Because even with Daemon, he can banish Daemon, send Daemon back to Rumstone and Dragons, whatever the hell Daemon want to go. He can send Daemon on. But with this guy, it's like
he's more dangerous.
He can, and he's way because he got Daemon, his ear.
Yeah, Daemon just represents a physical threat. Otto has a political influence across the land where if he decided that Rhaenyra wasn't the best option and the king's dead at that point, he's definitely somebody that could be on some Lord Varys, I'm going to have her replaced with the person who I think should be running the kingdom type of thing. I feel you on that. I just liked Otto because he gave me early Ned Stark vibes of Hand of the King before I started everything up until he literally, the scene where he looks at Alicent and says, why don't you go visit the king tonight? I was with him 100%. I had no reason to question him.
And that scene happened.
As soon as he said that line, I had to take a step back and I'm like, oh damn, hold on, wait a minute. What was that about? Hold on.
I guess Otto couldn't have been too bad of a guy because he could have played the long game and then
he still could.
Boom,
he ain't dead. He ain't dead yet, so I guess there's always potential time. He could still come back around and still try to be divisive. So I guess we'll see. But I guess
But you was really.
I liked him. I liked it. It was him and Daemon. Them was the two that stood out for me as the characters. I'm like, oh, I like the Hand and I like this Daemon guy. These are gonna be my guys. I'm gonna latch on.
I'm starting not to like Rhaenyra's ass.
Rhaenyra got to sit down somewhere. Yeah, Rhaenyra's hot girl summer is over. Rhaenyra's
even like as you was talking about at the wedding or whatever.
Yeah, so I guess we can get to that. So getting to the climax of episode 5 and I guess the ongoings for what will set up the events going forward. So we're at the feast and there's a lot of smaller individual conversations going on with a lot of movers and shakers of the area. One of the ones that we see is uh, Lenore's boyfriend is at the dinner, scouting out, basically trying to. He's been vocalized that he was on the path trying to figure out who Rhaenyra's little bow is, who her sneaky link could possibly be.
Because he just know Rhaenyra ain't out here all.
She ain't out here. She's with somebody.
Yeah.
She's too rebellious to not be with somebody that nobody thinks she should be with. That it fits the mold of her character. And he spots him out because being in the puppy dog position that they fresh off of, and Christian Cole being so conflicted about what he doing. He liked them two people at a party. If you ever been at a party with two people and they fucking and they try not to let the world know that they fucking, but they cannot for the life of them hold it in, it's like all over their face. That's the vibe. And everybody with eyes who can see the two of them is looking like, oh yeah, they fucking.
Yeah.
They fucking. Clearly, them two.
The way he just look at her. What did he say? He's a something.
What was it?
Smitten,
cunt smitten. That's what they said. It was cunt smitten or something. Hilarious. Pussy whip was basically what the phrase was. And he was, but that's not Christian Cole's fault. That was his first time too.
Yeah.
Rhaenyra, even losing her virginity, she has a little.
They don't even know how deep it ran.
Exactly. So he's at the party, trying his best not to look at his girl dance with her future king and husband to be and not look jealous or like he hated him. But he is. Yes, that was nice. I like the dance that they choreographed. I liked all of that.
Yeah, and he's sitting I like how they danced so intimately too without even touching.
Yep, all of that was nice.
They did put on a good show. Oh yeah, you would think they really liked each other.
And that was part of the reason he was sitting there getting hot. He was just Cole sitting there boiling, watching it because he's the betrothed knight, so he can't even lead the party to go outside and blow off the theme. You got to watch her to make sure she's safe. Your job will be to watch her get fucked by that guy for the rest of her adulthood.
That's why you never fuck on the job.
Exactly. But it happens so often.
It does all the time. All the time.
So they're sitting there, and he's sitting there hot and bothered and mad, and then basically Lenore's boyfriend slides over from out of nowhere, and he basically just gets in his ear because he's feeling the energy very clearly, and just makes a little comment around like, oh, don't they look nice together, and they're gonna be such a cute couple, and yada yada. And Christian Cole just sitting there trying his best not to put out there that he's getting annoyed, like, yeah, sure, whatever, I'm working, do you need something? And it's at this point that he basically just directly puts out there, so I'm with Lenore, and I care about him, and my job will be to keep him safe. You clearly care about Rhaenyra, and your job is going to be to keep her safe. And I think we should just have an understanding about ourselves that we're going to work to keep their secrets safe, and we're going to make sure we keep their business put away so they don't end up in any precarious situation. And in most people's situation, this would be about as ideal as you could ask for. Like, the only reason why it goes left is strictly because Sir Christian Cole is who he is as a person. I think any other person would have been happy about this. You basically just had a quick conversation with the significant other of the fake spouse that your person is getting ready to marry. They're making it clear to you, they with me, they with you, we ain't got a conflict, we're gonna work to keep them good. Most people would generally be like, that's the best I'm gonna get for this situation, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
But Sir Christian Cole does not want that.
He ain't going.
He does not want to be a side piece.
He's so conflicted. You can tell he's so conflicted about it. That's why he told the queen.
Yeah.
Because he just had to tell somebody.
He had to tell somebody. I'm walking around with this white cloak and I'm getting ass. I gotta tell somebody.
And he let it go. And then he probably was just starting to feel okay with that. And then boom, here comes somebody else.
Exactly.
Bringing up this forbidden love that could get him killed. And as a result, he then killed.
Exactly. So right before that happens, Damon being Damon, because he gotta show his ass in any sitting. In the midst of the dinner happening and people are intermingling across the floor and there's a dance hall going on that's very much filled with people, Damon slinks and slithers his way onto the dance floor and slides right into Rhaenyra's DMs and pulls her a little off to the side. And basically they have an intimate conversation where he's he's kind of, you know, goading her again, like, you know, asking, you know, is this what you want? Is this what you want your life to be? You know, you're going to be bored marrying him. He's a nice guy, but you're not going to be thrilled. And, you know, your life is not going to be what I know you want it to be. And Rhaenyra pretty much immediately swatting it back into his side of the court, like, yeah, you're right, I am. You should take me. You should take me right now.
Yeah.
You should kill all of my father's knights, kill my punk ass soon to be husband, and take me back to your castle and marry me. And like a fire gets lit in Damon's eyes, it's like he gets turned on by the prospect of this, and he really is like, I should kill all these motherfuckers in here and take you. I should do that. Nobody can stop me.
Mad Targaryen.
Right. And even pulls her in closely, and this is the scene that you said that you missed on that second rewatch. He snatches a kiss that the king sees. The king spots him kiss her in full open view of this party. But in the midst of everybody dancing around them, nobody sees this but him.
Right,
but
I didn't really.
He yanks her in real quick and does it quickly, and then this is when the fight breaks out.
Yeah.
So
and so that's why it was kind of hard saying if that happened or not, because then the fight broke out, and you would think that's what the fight broke out.
That's what I thought it was about. And people just like, what the hell is going on here?
And I hear
screaming and things breaking, and you assume somebody done hit Damon, or Damon started killing the knights, and he's like, yeah, you know what? I should just get to work. Yeah. But to our surprise, calm, mild-mannered Christian Cole decides he is going to whoop Laenor's boyfriend's ass, because I think personally he had a lot of aggression that was bottling up about the situation, about not being happy about having to hide. Rhaenyra had just declined him when he asked her to run away with him and leave her title behind so they can be together and get married without any persecution. He was probably in a really conflicted phase. That said, he kills this guy. He beat this
him to a pulp, literally.
He beat this man like he has had years of a rivalry with him, and he met him probably 2 hours ago that day.
That same
day.
He really beat that guy to a pulp, and that's why I say I didn't understand but I guess it makes sense with the built up aggression and just coming to terms with the fact that his life is not going to be anything like what he wanted before his thing with Rhaenyra, or even after.
Yeah,
somebody got to pay the price, so I guess he just felt like
be this redhead that I'm finna fuck up, because you here. You kept chastising me. I'm already irritated. You should have shut up. So he kills him, and the scene ends with Laenor basically crying over his dead lover's body as people basically just vacate out. It was very much Renly crying over, or Loras crying over Renly's body after he got killed vibes. It was just a distraught lover, and the whole room could feel it, but they also was like, let's get out of here.
I wonder if the kingdom will ever have any whisperings of that night and what happened, because if you notice, it was like most of the people was gone by the time the end came around. But there were still a few people lingering while he was crying over him.
Yeah, so
and then they dispersed. But I mean, what can they do? I guess the story just gonna proceed as
well. I guess it depends, because I'll ask that in the secondary question with what the end of the episode has, because the ending's kind of open ended with the Alice and stuff, and it has some questions about it. So after that body drops, basically, the king summons a small gathering of the immediate family together, and they decide, for probably the right reasons between the conflict of what just happened, and generally just things ain't going well if you stretch them out with these people. You probably need to just get this out the way. So they just decide, we're just gonna knock this out, and we're gonna marry Rhaenyra and Laenor right here today, and that is what they do.
Which I think was definitely smart.
Yes.
Because clearly Laenor,
all of them are flight risks. All of them are flight risks. Everybody's a flight risk.
Yeah.
And they distraught. You just watched your lover kill somebody, and your lover just died. Exactly.
I was like, wow, what a pathetic ass wedding.
I was like,
she's gonna run around all over his head.
Boy. And now he ain't even got a strong-willed man behind him to try to stick up for himself. It's just gonna be
I can't wait for the next episode.
Rhaenyra gonna be out here going wild. He gonna be sitting in the house just eating and drinking wine, trying not to get killed, just shutting up like,
baby, listen. Or he gonna have him a illicit love affair.
I'm sure he'll get another boy toy. They'll get him another one.
For sure.
They'll get him another one. So we get to the end of the episode, and it's this very somber scene of Sir Christian Cole. And he's basically walking, and he's taken off his white cloak, and he's put down his sword, giving the impression that he's either resigned from or been banished from the Gold Cloaks and the Knights and, you know, the general protection of Rhaenyra for murder and do, which is what I presume. But apparently this wasn't the case. So we get to this scene, and he basically walks over to this garden area with a dagger and makes clear he's planning to kill himself right here. Now, I don't know if that was an order by the crown that he had to kill himself after committing murder at that wedding, or if it was a matter of you were a knight and this was just some dude that Laenor was messing around with. He was a court, but, you know, he wasn't anybody in the royal family, so maybe you just got away with it. Your general honor made you want to kill yourself.
Be first priority on the list.
I don't imagine so.
All of that shit went down.
Yeah. So when I looked at it like that, I took it as Sir Christian Cole, based on his own decision for his own honor that he feels he sullied, is deciding he's going to kill himself because he does not want to, between the Rhaenyra stuff and this, and then the body you just killed, I just don't think he can move forward with how things are going. And right as he is getting ready to take his life, Alicent shows up and stops him, and I guess alludes to there will be some form of alliance between them, or at least she's going to bring him in as a confidant as hers, because when it came down to it, he was more honest with her than he was with Rhaenyra, or more willing to tell
Rhaenyra was with her also.
Yeah, so I think
it definitely seemed like Lady Alicent realized that she had to build her own secret.
Yeah, she's got to start getting her following up
and moving her pieces on the puzzle, because clearly nothing with the realm is in her favor. Nothing with the kingdom is in her favor. And
not even just that. I think that the idea that Otto put in her head before leaving, you need to start getting him ready, get your son prepared. Like, a time is going to come where, irregardless of whatever mercy you think Rhaenyra has for you, your son is going to be a threat to her. Yeah. And she's going to make a decision on how to handle that at that time. And it would be better for you to be prepared to protect him than waiting and just hoping that your friend is merciful for you because y'all were friends when y'all were younger. Yeah. So I think generally, it's just she's acknowledging, between that, her little dress moment when she comes into the wedding wearing the green to represent the old town colors.
Lord Larys. Or Laura Laris, who kind of put some bugs in Lady Alicent's ear along the way. He's the son of the head of the king.
He's actually the Lord of Harrenhal as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, had a little note for that. I put it in parentheses, Lord of Harrenhal. I was like, oh, is he? I didn't realize that the first time. I had to jot that down.
So he's the Lord of Harrenhal. He took over. So his father was the Lord of Harrenhal, but because his father is now the hand of the king, that makes him the Lord of Harrenhal. Right. Okay, well, yeah. So it seemed like Lady Alicent is quietly making alliances with some pretty powerful people. She has Old Town on her back.
Got Old Town.
They already let her know. Yeah, they be having 1,000.
They gave her that Sansa, the North remembers speech, like, we here when you ready to light that candle.
Just let us know.
Light the candle. We'll hit the streets for you.
And Lord Larys is also, seeing. I'm gonna just go ahead and say, he's seeing a lot of what's going on, and he don't like it. So he's gonna put his little bids in where he feel like he should, and maybe he might have a potential bid later on down. Well, not a bid for the throne, but his own.
His prospect of,
later on.
One of the things that I like about it is I more so would prefer how they're setting it up in this, to have a bunch of intelligent characters who aren't necessarily trying to get the throne themselves. But they've just got candidates that they're supporting, and 100%. We're getting to see them move around to gradually get their people in position. Like, Aegon's already an Iron Throne candidate, and he's already at this point like 3 or 4. Yeah. Like, and it's good to see the faction that's really solely building around his protection to make sure he's okay to get old enough to be a viable threat to get on the sea. So I like that instead of us having, we follow 6 warriors and they all can fight, so one of them might end up being king. I like this more. It's like we're getting to see their representatives battle on their behalf and politics.
And also the parallel to Allison is finally coming to herself. As we see in late Rhaenyra and her ways about about coming into herself. It just speaks to the quiet calmness but power that lies within the slow growth of Allison. I think she's gonna be a MF.
Oh yeah,
in these coming episodes.
She's got a ceiling of like a young Olenna Tyrell.
Oh yeah,
she's got a high ceiling if she keeps on.
Yes, very, very much so.
I get real young Olenna Tyrell vibes.
I wonder if they'll touch on. Well, I'm gonna assume that they don't have any. She doesn't have any siblings.
Who?
Lady Allison. I think they said somehow she might have had a sister, but other than that, I don't feel like they mentioned.
Not that I'm aware of. If she
nor
does,
do they mention where Otto went.
I assume he went back to Old Town. As soon as he left, I'm like, I assume you're going back to Old Town to start amassing whatever forces you need to be ready on the drop of a dime in case Allison needs to make a move or something. That's what I took it as. But maybe not. Maybe he's got another move, or maybe she got a brother that's back in Old Town that was holding the fort down or something when her dad wasn't there or something. It could be. Maybe we'll see. But
we'll see. It's developing pretty fast.
Like, it is, and apparently for the next episode for 6, we got another time skip coming. Now, one of the articles that I looked into and read, as far as I'm aware, this should be the last time skip we get for a while. So I don't think we jump in history again. But apparently going forward, as of episode 6, we're supposed to be jumping into the future 10 years from where we're at now. So that means we'll be 10 years into Rhaenyra and Laenor's marriage. And I
realize we're halfway through the season.
Yes, this would be the mid-season finale break-off point, etc. Because the Game of Thrones seasons are notoriously 10 episodes.
10 episodes. Yep. They mentioned something in the inside the episode after the episode. They mentioned something about halfway through the season. I was like, damn, we halfway through already. That isn't this me that 5 weeks went fast.
Extremely fast.
I think the time jump got a lot to do with it too.
That,
like it feels like it's going like
And then the show generally as a whole is just moving faster than the original start of Game of Thrones.
For sure.
Like, this one we very much hit the ground running. The first one was a lot of let us introduce you to the world and really immerse you. This one they got the benefit of coming after that. So like, y'all know where y'all at. Y'all know what we're doing. Let's just go.
Yeah. And it seems to me like it seems like they're going to try to stretch this all the way up until Game of Thrones happens.
You have the option.
They'll have to skip.
You got 200 years to play with. So realistic. And then the other part about it that is something to consider depending on how long they take the scope of the House of Dragon series. The arc of Rhaenyra's story might only be a couple seasons, and maybe then we end up following somebody else.
I'm cool with that.
I would personally be fine with that because I'm
kind of tired of it. I mean, it is about the Targaryen reign, I thought. So
not even just that. I don't need to see a bunch of characters grow up for like 7 years on a show. Like that's fine for some shows, but I've seen that enough stuff, and I didn't really see that with this. Like I kind of preferred the time skip. Well, let's just get everybody old. Let's just age everybody up.
When all the action goes down.
Get the ball running. In Game of Thrones originally, I had to wait for everybody to become 15, 16, 17, 18 before they could actually be out here swinging swords and dropping bodies and stuff. No, let's just jump past this. Cool.
That's true.
Let's just speed this up. So
that's true.
10 years to play with, and then maybe we get 2 or 3 seasons of Rhaenyra's story and cover some stuff about her arc, and then maybe jump ahead 50 years, and now we covering so-and-so first to his name, something. It's
gonna have to be Aegon, I think. But I don't know. I didn't read the book. I don't know what it's gonna
They got a lot to play with. That's what I mean. Like, it just depends how long they want to stay on this, and then wherever you try to go afterwards. But they have an open canvas. They've already been renewed for the 2nd season at least.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. I think they got renewed for 3.
I could believe it. I
think they got renewed for 2 more seasons already.
So at the very least, we'll get to see some more of their general arc and stuff play
if they keep it coming like how they got it, they own something. They could easily go another 8. I could see it going 10 seasons. They could easily split them 200 years up. in a certain type of way.
3-4 years, cover 20-40 years of her lifespan, jump, and then do 2 seasons, maybe cover another 40-60 years, jump, and then before you know it, we can end up at a young Mad King.
Yes.
Do a brief little ending of that, and then the series ain't cut off right as he getting killed by Jamie Lannister.
Yep. And then we know from there.
We know where it's going from there, for better or worse.
I don't think they learned their lesson.
I hope so.
I'm gonna go ahead and say they learned their
They're doing fine so far.
They're doing a great job.
Fine so far.
They are. They know they have to. But that's with anything, though. They always bring it that first season. Let's see them 3 seasons in.
That's fair.
That's when my radar is gonna be up. But right now, I think I'm expecting great things the next 2 seasons.
Was part of you disappointed that we aren't going to be getting any more teenage Rhaenyra and Allison?
I can't really.
We're going to have to deal with that second part carrying over as the next episode. Is we're going to have to get re-enamored to their adult actors, and they got to carry. They're going to have to carry the energy going forward of the likeness that we gained. Like Daemon's not going anywhere. His character's still going to be getting played by him. The king and a couple other old people will still be them, but the young cast, we're going to have to see older Sir Christian Cole if we still like him, older Laenor Valerian if he's still
I didn't care for the guy that played him.
I didn't like the wig.
I didn't like.
I don't like the wig.
He didn't
they could have did better locks for him than that for Laenor specifically. Lord, Corlys was really dark skinned. And I understand that the queen that never was is about as white as snow as you can get, but that
was very pale.
That was
very pale.
His sister even looked a little darker than him.
The wig was bogus.
They're really bogus.
They needed to.
Corlys got better. He looked like Corlys just had a regular head of locks that y'all just dyed gray. His son looked like that was like a mesh stitching pullback wig y'all put it. That was y'all could have cast a kid with locks and just did it the right way.
No, well, exactly.
How about that? You get a real black kid. Not that he ain't black, but y'all knew what I mean.
I felt like I was pandering with Lord Corlys.
Because Corlys was dark, and I ain't trying to color shame for it, but he was black representing. Now, when I saw that, I was like, yeah.
But the daughter do kind of got a darker tone.
She did too.
So I said, well, maybe they didn't want him to be too black.
But then he's the one that has to be king, and then I have an issue with the one being too black is the one that you have to get on the chair. Then if that's the case, flip that. That's the problem then, because he's the one we gotta follow. He's the one whose story we gonna be keeping up with. Yeah. Don't make the black one that's really gonna really be king be like, well, pancake him up a little bit.
Corlys ain't gonna. I mean, he's not a spring chicken either. So at some point,
10-year jump, he was already old.
Yeah, it seemed like they're gonna water it down. But nonetheless, I guess we gotta,
enthusiastic for what it is as it is, and we got way more black characters in this than we had in Game of Thrones by far. So I'm taking it as the W's as it are.
And I definitely haven't seen the wig that bad since the one they gave Samuel L. Jackson on Soul Man.
That one was bad, but I accepted it because it was a comedy, so it felt like it was intentionally terrible. Like they went out of their way, like we need a shit wig. This is a $50 million budget TV show. The cosmetic department, the wardrobe people, whoever chose that, y'all are wrong for that.
I think they ran out of money on his character as a whole.
His presentation did look,
the acting, I didn't like nothing about
But again, for him to be who he is, that's a problem. Like obviously, okay, so as a general base,
y'all made him gay on top of it. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm just saying, like,
but for the sake of us getting an opportunity to have a black king be represented in this, it would have been nice if we didn't have him end up being the gay cuckold of the strong female writer. That's basically what he is. It's like, it would have been nice if we could have just got a strong male son who was just, there and present and represented a similar likeness to Rhaenyra. He was rebellious too. He had his little frolics in the streets and whatever too. And
here's another thing that I would like to think could have happened at that time were power couples.
Yeah.
Why couldn't Rhaenyra have gotten a strong black man? Or just a strong man, period, as her counterpart because she's a very strong woman, and she's gonna need somebody to reel her ass in.
Yeah,
because I can't see nobody being able to reel her in at a certain
like
point.
the benefit that they gave Daenerys in Game of Thrones is none of the men she was ever involved with at any point were pushovers. From the start of the series to when she ends up at Jon Snow at the end.
Even
every
Grey
man,
Worm, even though he was her, you know, whatever.
He was there. He was adamant and strong. Her little side boo from the Second Sons, Khal Drogo. Every dude she was with, or who was attracted to her, was strong. You know, stern. You know, a leader, a general pillar that you can follow. And it helped because Daenerys was such an adamant pillar herself that she was attracted to strong men. Rhaenyra, on the other hand, well, all we really got to go on so far is Christian Cole and Daemon. Both seem to be virtuous, very strong physically.
It's gonna be interesting.
I haven't seen a strong-willed person yet. I don't necessarily consider Daemon not to be not strong-willed, but his strength to me lies in other areas, not necessarily will. And Christian Cole was more honorable. I
disagree. Yeah. I think if anybody is strong-willed, it's Daemon.
He's strong-willed
in his self-interest,
in his way,
in his self-interest.
Yeah, in his self-interest.
Him and Rhaenyra.
The most strong. If they got together, he would be the most even kill with her. Absolutely.
But then, even to that point too, would he even be able to reel her in, or would it be a focus on her trying to reel him in? Would they even be a good matchup?
One of the things that I wondered from the moment he gave her the necklace all the way through when he gave her whatever he gave her the brothel was I wondered what their actual relationship dynamic would look like. They've gotten the benefit of just having to tiptoe around their attraction and appeal to each other up until this point, to the where it might be infatuating because you haven't had to play the full position yet. But Daemon is very much a quirky character, and Rhaenyra is very much a not liking to listen to what people got to say character. So I almost wonder, would them actually really deciding, you know, all power couple stuff aside, them coming together would just be a disaster.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish she could have made it work with Christian Cole.
Yeah,
I wish she would have rolled the ball on that sooner. I thought that's what it was leading to.
It seemed like
it wasn't.
I'm still under the impression that little Allison thread is unfinished. I still, for what that was, partially feel like that was a thing that was just a tidbit of a crumb that they maybe never planned to pay off. But I definitely, even on the second rewatch, looking at it again, I still get that vibe that there was some form of, maybe it was just the femininity and the friendship of it, them just being generally close.
Yeah, but we did touch on that in the first.
It felt like a small bit of something there. Like, I don't want to be around anything. I don't want to do anything but fly on my dragon back with you and eat cake all day.
I never really. I saw where you was coming from, but I never.
Just really a small tidbit. They never came back to it. So
to show they closeness.
Oh yeah.
It was just to show they closeness because as we see from there to now, stark changes happen. And then just why, you know, Allison was giving Rhaenyra such a benefit of the doubt and going so hard for her because they were so close.
Yeah, definitely.
Why she's so hurt now.
They definitely revealed it was a platonic friendship and a lot of trust in a person that she had a lot of faith in that showed that she couldn't trust her at the end of the day as well. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely got those vibes.
But who knows? You know, I definitely think with Daemon, I'm very interested to see what his impotency story goes.
I hope he gets to finish. I hope the running joke of this series is not that Daemon don't get to come at any point.
He has to, though, because he has to have
That's
kids.
True. So, yeah, the small bit of, I don't even want to necessarily say a spoiler. It's a series based on a book series.
If he's gonna have
so technically, canonically, it happens. So, the series of books that the House of Dragon TV series is adapting based on various adaptations to the story they might choose to make. Daemon ends up with Lady Rhaenyra's sister.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They end up having 2 kids. So for the book version, at least, we know he ends up having kids. For this TV series, they very much could go another way. The only reason why I don't know if they will is, and it's only because I don't know how much of their lineage is reliant on those descendants. I don't know if his kids need to grow up to be somebody and they marry somebody else and that makes a king later. So maybe they need to do it. But as it stands,
as with any royal
that
family,
will be
you
the
have to
other
have
match
heirs.
that we'll get later. Is David will be betrothing the other Valerian child in the near future.
Yeah.
So when we come back,
well, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty certain since they didn't touched on it up to this point, they're gonna have to, before the season is out, clarify what's to that. And I can't wait to see more of Lady Laniera.
Oh yeah.
Because she may be just playing everybody can be playing their cards just right to get where they need to be.
Probably
and
that.
Then we see
I'm sure Lord Colas like that is also in her ear, just like he probably in his son's like, you know, you're getting involved with the most dangerous member of their family, tread softly type of thing.
Because who did they end up marrying Lady Lena off to? Another old Valerian house?
Lady Lena was supposed to be marrying the son of the sea snake originally before the Damon proposition comes up. I don't know when within this 10-year period. Like their courtship happens within this gap we're not going to get to see. By the time we come back, kids might be born technically, I think, by this point. So I don't know how they're going to play it. But we're going to miss a lot. So that 10-year gap, we're going to come up with a lot of things. When we come back, Rhaenyra gonna be 28 and whatever that looked like. I don't know.
I'm gonna rewatch that
clip. Oh yeah.
Because I'm gonna slow it down. It was silver hair with a big belly, and it was with another baby in there.
Yeah, you said that. I gotta look at that.
How many kids?
We saw that.
I
saw.
know this ain't Rhaenyra. She said this is what she was not gonna do.
Okay, well that's the other part of it that I will express to you. Rhaenyra does have children at some point.
Yeah, well, I knew that she didn't seem like she wanted to have a lot of kids. Barefoot and pregnant stuff.
She does end up at least. I know she has a minimum of 2 kids. It's a minimum of 2. I don't know if it's more than that, but it's a minimum of 2. I think they're both boys too.
I can't wait to hear how her and Lord Laner sex life, how they kids came. I can't wait to hear how Lady Laniera and Damon, pending they have kids in the show. I can't wait to see what happened with that. Because they both got some shit going on. Right. Is she willing to let him bring a new man into the bed like how
is that
Marjorie Tyrell was with?
Does he need it? Maybe he ain't. Maybe he ain't like Renly, and he can, swing both ways a little better, or a little easier than them. And
he did try. He did say he did try.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe so.
Could be.
Maybe he's gonna expose Damon again. We'll find out.
The Damon being gay thing is the one that we betting on for our current fan theory that we sticking with.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with that.
Damon is probably gay, and I think that's what this is.
Or he has some sort of sex-related trauma.
Something like that. But then the only thing that made me hesitant about believing that is just being the king's brother and them coming up. Like, when could it have happened, and what could have happened? Y'all were in such a privileged position. It seemed like somebody would have died trying to do something to y'all. So, like, when could you have been scarred that badly by something? Not that it can't happen, but it's just like these of all the children end up with the trauma.
Well, you have to remember, and this is something I asked about. I don't know if it was on there last time or not, but I was wondering about what's the story with their father?
Yeah.
With Viserys and Daemon's father. How young were they when they died? Where is their mother? Because we don't see anything about their mother, and their father died.
And Viserys also didn't get made king at a young age.
No, he was grumpy.
There definitely could have been a lower when they were just regular Targaryen on the totem pole family before they went. And
nobody was really checking after.
Some could have happened.
Who was raising them.
Some could have happened. Some could have happened.
I don't know.
Something could have.
Because I don't want to just jump to him being gay. But I don't know.
We've seen 3 sexual encounters so far with attractive women that he has not been able to finish on. At this point, if we get to a 4th one, now we at Lanier now. Lady Lanier is fine. He got a black wife.
Right.
She's fine. And I know he hits in the books. If he can't make this work in the show, Damon, you got some explaining to do.
She made some comment about them making something happen. I'm gonna have to rewatch.
She's for it. She's down for it. She very much like, ooh, you the prince? Yeah, let's go. I'm here for it. So,
because like if a man ever told me, I don't know who's prettier, you or your brother, I don't know how nice I'm gonna be after that. I mean, my brother is fine, but what are you talking about?
The fact that you'd be making the observation about that would be the issue, and then leading that into that's an odd way to make a compliment. That's an odd way to make a compliment. It's like if I met a woman and her mom at the grocery store, and I was like, you almost have as fat as ass as your mom. That's very
right.
It's like what was that? I'm like, no, it's a compliment. It's like
I don't know.
It's a better way you could have worded that.
Yeah. For sure.
You have good family genes,
but she still roll with it.
She was, it's the prince. It's the at this point you might as well reserve yourself for it like your brother and accept the fact that it's the easiest way for you. It's either that or she waiting on Aegon, and she wasn't gonna wait 12 years for him to grow up.
Yeah, way
so
too old.
It's Daemon by default.
Yeah. I don't see Allison letting Aegon have anything to do with anybody that had any type of alliances with Viserys.
I could see Aegon very much being the isolated Targaryen, to be honest. Like I feel like definitely. That might be what the Targaryens start to dilute a little bit for the current series of families, and that's where the trend of marrying Targaryen starts picking up or something like that when the family fractures. Maybe that's what the starts that. Because I could see her getting really far, because she very much seemed not with that custom of the Targaryen intermingling thing. When she made that comment about
when he
them
tried,
having odd customs.
Somebody told what's that Otto Hightower that suggested that Rhaenyra marry her brother?
Yeah.
I just thought about that.
At that point in time, he laid out all the king's options. That I acknowledge that. It wasn't a great one, but like, look, Your Majesty, look, she got to get married. So this is what we got on the table. You can either marry her to your cousin, you can marry her off to your brother, you can marry off to her little brother, or we can marry off to the warlord's son, or one of these other rich little pomp spoiled bastards.
But Allison wasn't for it anyway. No. When they came up, I just asked her.
She said, "What?" He was like, "I'm just reading the terrain. It's an option. It's an option. I'm just laying. My job is to lay out the options. My job is to make sure you have a successor. That's my job. You ain't gotta be happy about it. I'm just letting you know this is what you got to pick from. Line it up from there." But I am very much. I think
Rhaenyra and Daemon is a disaster.
Probably so, but I think it's a disaster we're destined to head for. I feel like some point before this series ends, matter of fact, some point before this season ends, Daemon and Rhaenyra are going to finish that conversation they had in that brothel. That's my theory.
I can't wait to see.
I don't want to see it, but
I can't wait to see it.
Matter of fact,
something in the clip with somebody with a dragon egg.
Yes, and it was a little dragon that was born too. I don't know if you noticed that. It was a younger dragon. So I assume that was Aegon when he got older, maybe with his dragon as he's getting older. Probably.
How did that work with the dragon eggs?
So basically, so that was for Balon though. So Aegon presumably, Allison's son got her own dragon egg.
How would that go though? How do the dragon eggs hatch? You gotta get married.
So basically, the egg, after the dragon has it, they keep it in the crib with the baby pretty much throughout their entire infancy, as far as I remember, and they keep it on like this heating thing because it has to be incubated to some capacity to gradually get ready to warm up. And I guess it goes. As long as they're aging, they keep the egg with them. Once it hatches, I think the Targaryen, the kid, is supposed to be the first thing it sees to bond with them or something. And then just from there, you're supposed to do a bunch of gradual training to build up that bond so you can ride it comfortably and all that good stuff at some point.
I wasn't sure when I saw that if that was from Laenor and Rhaenyra.
It could be that too, though, because there are still a few more dragons we have yet to see. I think as a head count, we're at about 6 or 7, and I think we're going to get 10 altogether for the series.
Okay, they need to do a little bit of distinguishing some of them.
The last couple, they look very similar. Daemon's and Rhaenyra's look significant.
And it's just last episode, it was 2 that was.
Yeah, and Corliss's, I know, because his is silver. But other than that, yeah, they got
And I think Laenor's is blue or something.
Something like that. If it's not, I'd like a nice bright blue one. If we haven't seen that yet, it would definitely stick out.
Yellow.
We got a lot of promising things coming forward, though. It's definitely.
So when should we come back for a recap? I think maybe
we did
episode
this
8.
Maybe 8. 8 seems like it'd be
7,
good.
8, and then a 10.
Yeah, we can do 8 and then do 10 for the season finale. Yeah. season finale.
Yeah, because we just covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, well,
we had four
we
episodes.
had 4 episodes to get through a lot of context, but I feel
and this ain't even really the half. It's so much more. No. So make sure y'all still go and watch the episode.
Absolutely, please do.
Please do, because it's so much more.
It's getting crazy, and it feels like we finna take the next step off for the series with this time leap. I feel like this is when we really gonna see some major changes. Like, what are the ramifications of all the stuff that we watched happen up until now? Like, all right, now the country's had 10 years to marinate on all these decisions. What's the world looking like now? So we got a lot to come back forward to. So yeah, I think 8 is a good mark, and then episode 10. The season
because by 8, it's gonna be vicious.
Lord only knows.
It's gonna be a plot twist by the end. So yeah, we definitely, and I want y'all to be watching very closely too, just in case we miss anything. Because with Game of Thrones, it's like you'll be reading into everything, which I've rewatched to try to, but some stuff still may go over.
Go be ahead, or something you think is something significant that ends up being nothing. It's just something you saw. Clearly, I thought Allison and Rhaenyra was end up going dating, and that was just based off one scene. But you know, it was a theory at the time that made sense.
Very intimate. I see what they tried to do, but I don't. Yeah, but yes. So let us know. Reach out to us. You can reach out to me on Instagram at Mars.
Her tags is in the your tag was in the last episode and all that stuff.
So okay, well he gonna look it up.
It'll be in there again. It'll be in there again, and then this time you can send out and splash it to whoever you need to send it out to.
Yeah, I put it on my Facebook last time. But yeah, I'm gonna do it again this time, and I won't, like I say, let us know what did you see, what you think in these next few, what you want us to discuss.
Yeah.
On the next one when we do address questions, whatever, we want to hear from you.
Absolutely. So just leave it in the bottom in the comments, reach out, and we'll be back for episode 8 to look back in and see what the Westeros and the rest of the country is looking like after 10 years. So we'll get back with y'all and look forward to the next episode.
Hopefully it hasn't jumped in up 15.
I hope not. I don't want to see old lady Rhaenyra.
I
don't. That was kind of part of it that I was conflicted about, because obviously I like the young actress her. I wanted to kind of stick with her a little bit.
Might not be bad, because remember Linda Terrell.
It might be, but that's based on if you get an actress that is carrying that, and that's what I'm waiting to see. But they've done good casting so far, so I'm not going to doubt them and assume that the next iterations of the older characters are going to be bad.
Yeah.
But that said, I don't like this older Aegon that I saw. If that's who that was, that white wig on him is bogus too. The twin budget needs to get a raise. Whoever's wigging it up, do better wigs. This HBO got money for wigs. Y'all
need to hire some good old black women, some good old Keishas that lay the frontals right. Y'all need to hire some of them. You know what? All jokes aside, Kim Kimble is known, Black Hollywood, making the best wigs. Put Kim Kimble on payroll for a couple of these wigs for these children and for this guy. But real quick before we go, speaking of actors, are there any American or any actors, period, that you would want to see in it? I'll go first, because when I'm thinking older and powerful queen-like characters or whatever, I want to see a Glenn Close or even a Meryl Streep.
That's another good
I would love to see them in Game of Thrones as like a queen or whatever type of character.
Interesting one. Older regal queen,
or just an actor that you see dominating like a Game of Thrones type of role.
I'm trying to see, because the thing about it is, I truthfully kind of preferred finding the not hidden gems that the actors were for Game of Thrones, but I hadn't seen most of their work for some of their stuff before that. Like Kit Harington, who played Jon Snow, I hadn't really seen him in much of anything before that, but then saw him in a bunch of shows and movies since, and liked his acting. Peter Dinklage, Tyrion Lannister was somebody who I'd seen little stuff here and there, but after seeing that, so I almost don't want big names to come to this.
That's fair.
Like, I kind of didn't like that happened with Marvel after a while, that it became this niche thing where it was just a genre that the big name actors were going to. So I kind of like that I don't know the people, and it's just like my biggest is like, oh, when I saw Damon was the guy from The Crown, I was like, oh, that's dope, my boy. Yeah,
he's still on a lot of
and he's on a lot of stuff, and he's still gradually, you know, getting his traction with people. So I kind kind of, for stuff like this, I almost like the unknowns just because the name will distract me sometimes. And I'll be more focused on the actor than the character. I'm just like, oh shit, Johnny Depp's here now. Fuck, what else is going on? Want to see no, if Johnny, I will take Johnny Depp in whatever he wants to do at this point. If Johnny Radcliffe, another one, yes. There are definitely names. If Robert Downey Jr. tells me he wants to do Game of Thrones, I'm gonna hear what he's talking about. I'm gonna hear what he's talking about. I can see him. I will take what he's putting down, but as a whole, if I have my preference, I'll take the not unknowns like to bash them.
Yeah, I know what you mean. The
lesser, the younger generation of actors to just give me a chance to get connected with them, so I can care to follow them through their next couple things after this. Whereas the other people, I'd be mostly just there. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a fan of yours. I don't really need to get sold on what you're doing. I just like you. Like it's like Fantastic Beasts. Once I found out Johnny Depp was in that, whatever he brought to the role. Johnny Depp's in Harry Potter. I was sold. I was happy. That was it. He's there. That's all I wanted is when I was young. I'm like, if I could just get Johnny Depp in this series, that'll be it. And there he is. Or period. But,
That's anyway, a fair one.
Yeah. But other than that, if I had to pick one, Helena Bonham Carter.
Of course. Okay, yeah. Oh,
she'll
be so good. I think she's too whimsical for this.
She is, but I find something. Serious. It is.
It's not enough. No, she's like,
she can bring
that. Ain't ready for her energy.
She can bring that crazy energy from Sweeney Todd and find something for her to do somewhere. Something. She can do something.
I would love to see Helena Bonham Carter and like a Glenn Close in a movie together.
That would be a nice pairing. I think they would play off each other really well. They could do some nice work together.
Yes. Yes.
I'd like to just see Helena Bonham Carter period.
In anything.
She's a lovely woman and just everything.
Speaking of, I decided that we're gonna just jump to her season of Crown.
Yeah.
Because if you took a world history class, then technically you already know her.
It's probably fast, and honestly, from the moment you said she was in, I really just wanted to get to that part.
Yeah, we gonna skip
I was enjoying it for watching it, but once I saw that, I was like, yeah, I really wanted to see her now. I want to get to that. It was like in American Horror Story when I found out that Angela Bassett had finally came to the show. I was like, if I hadn't seen, I think the second season up to that point, but the third one was coming out, and I was just like, I just want to see her. It's like
speaking of Angela Bassett, she would be a cold ass character for the House of Valerian.
She really would.
Wow.
And I don't know if that's just the remnants from the Black Panther, her just being the regal queen out that. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I guess it becomes time commitment type of things. I don't know what.
Be like Lord Corliss's mother.
Yes, I would happily. That. I would. I mean, you go to you finally get to Old Town, not Old Town. Forgetting where
Valyria, wherever they from.
Their land from the Sea People Kingdom, whatever, yada yada. And we get to see her in there, and my son or something.
Oh, yes. That would be lovely.
You gotta start writing back fan letters to these shows. Like, look, you guys need. Clearly, it's obvious, but Angela Bassett should be a part of this.
I will be jumping on my Twitter tonight. To write to them.
Like, if y'all looking for cast at season 2, don't slip up on this. Come on now.
Yes.
Get it together.
Yes.
Just better wigs for season 2. Something.
Yeah, well, the first season budget be kind of weak. But Kim Kimball, holla at your girl.
Something, please. If you're going to have ethnic representation in your TV shows or films, please,
get the hair right.
Please care enough to portray the people in a naturalistic and proper fashion, because you didn't get no dusty white Valyrian wigs for none of them Targaryens.
Okay.
Everybody's hair was laid and pressed.
Rhaenys' hair
braided to the gills and baby hairs and all. I don't want to hear it. Don't bring little black kids in here for the Valerians and suddenly have them with the leftover wigs from Shakespearean play y'all was doing.
Wig was wild, yo.
That shit was stiff as hell. I was like, this man hair ain't moving for it.
They could have gave him some Fetty Wops. Did him some fake dreads.
You could have given him something. You could have took a scene and even if it didn't fit the time period, just for the sake of just throwing it in there and giving him because Lord Corlys has got some dripped up and some nice done locks. Like even though they gray and they're older, his are very much neat, and his sons look like they just didn't care.
And that's the wig, because I've seen his character's hair and he usually rock a low cut.
Mhm.
So it ain't like they fake
No,
rock
they
him
just
and
got him a
added some
nice.
shit. They got him a good
They
wig.
got him a good wig, and it's like you should. He's a prominent character, and this is the guy that's gonna marry the princess. Don't have him come out here looking like
Don't do
the Rent a Prince.
He already got a lot.
He's from the
on.
richest family in the world. Somebody can pay to do his hair.
Okay.
Get
and
that
it's
together.
like the fourth. I mean, all the episodes he had that bad wig. So
Exactly.
it ain't like
from the moment I saw him, I'm him leaning over. I'm like, what the fuck is that on this man's head? I'm like, they doing this boy bogus.
It looked like a helmet, legit.
It did.
Like they put
like a
wool
wool helmet,
helmet
and covered up
and
a
put the shit
baseball
on his
helmet.
head.
Just like, just don't like try to not to linger on it too much.
Oh gosh.
Hopefully, by the time he's older, 10 years from now, he has a better wig.
He has some more corpse.
Yes, he's 10 years is enough time. He need to be draping at that point in time. You better come out there,
cut the shit off,
and then just give him a nice, pristine gray fade if y'all can't handle that.
That wig ain't gonna cut it.
No.
Do my boy right.
Yes, and we'll cut off on the wig talk because that was the thing. The main point y'all need to fix, if nothing else. That's the only special effects gripe I done had in this show so far is the wig. Everything else looks fine or good. Everything's cool. But before we stay on hair care for too much longer.
Because I can go on and on.
Exactly. And we're both quite lazy. So as you can see, give you what you
okay. Clearly we serious about our lives. Right. Get them right, man.
That's gonna be a general pod discussion episode. Is hair care? How it can be bad.
On a lot of these shows, because I be seeing a lot of stuff. I be like, y'all is lacking so badly in the hair department, like.
Or chose to not try to lack in it. Just like, yeah, don't worry about it. They're fine.
They just do him all wrong. I hope he's not gonna be playing the older version himself because I want to recast.
I hope not. I'm really, even though I liked all the young characters, I really do hope they're all. Rhaenyra's the one I'm most saddened to see go about it because I really like, especially because they really was framing it like she was gonna be the face of the series, like for a little longer. I didn't really expect them to really age up all the way through the first season, but if they got plans for what
only 5 episodes in.
Yeah, at least to get a season finale. Like I felt like. I don't know what they paid her to come on, but she seemed like a worthwhile actress. Like I would have wanted to keep her on a little longer. Yeah, this was something nice. But I almost wish she could have got more from this, like a full season at least before they aged up. Like, all right, now she's 20. Do next project.
It looked like they did a lot of CGI on her in the earlier episodes because she looked really young.
Really young.
And then so now even Lady Allison as well.
Yep.
Up until now. That's why I say, by the way, a round of applause for Lady Allison. She's the standout actor of the fifth
I'd say both, honestly, 4 and 5.
Yeah,
really.
4 and 5. I'll give Rhaenyra for how she played everything in 4.
She blossomed a lot in 4 with that parallel of them 2 intimate scenes. But like that was really, a lot of different things you had to sell in a different scene. Like that was showed some layers.
That whole episode was a lot of up and down, and she really navigated that very well. That was her laying it all out on the line.
That was her crescendo. Apparently, both of them. They knew they wasn't gonna be back. So, this is our series finale, y'all. So let's make sure y'all know we mean it.
Yeah.
Right now. Okay, Allison, I feel you. I'm listening.
Okay.
All right, but I'll go ahead and cut it here. Thank you all very much for listening to this very in-depth and hefty episode. And we will be back for episode 8 to go ahead and regale y'all on what our thoughts on episodes are then. And look forward to the next episode.